Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds. We have the Benny Factor with us. We also have Victor Shears with us. Gerald will be in here in a little bit, and Crypto's with us as well. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the Aether. So let's start off with where we're at. We're talking about the coils a little bit. So, Victor, you want to go ahead and tell us what you were noticing?
Oh, well, I've been watching, let's see, I'll try to, been watching this, Alchemical Scientist, Law of Sanskrit Mathematics. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when he got to this point, just right where he made this, talks about this chart, I was noticing Cantor's dust here running down the side, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. I've already pretty much introduced that concept in my math. And then there's this 1, 3, 9, which is powers of 3, right? Or 9. Yeah, anyway, I have this going into the micro. The exact same table comes out of what I call, my unit is Lambda. And that's what he says that Malcolm calls this chart. And when the synchronicity hit, I was just blown away going, oh my God, it fits. He has the macro scale. I got the micro scale. We're working on photonic alchemy potentially and other advances. And it just really clicked.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I can even show that my Lambda so other people can work it. Because what it does is instead you get 1 over 9 and 1 over 27. And it's a little, comes from the number 3.
How long did it take you to develop that?
It sort of came out of necessity. I was noticing how like ninths, any number divided by 9 ends up being that like 6 ninths is 0.66666.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it was a connection to infinity. So I started using the 1/9 because it's all ones. So it digitally has some root value too, because I believe when a computer turns on all of its ones, it's computing the square root of -1. Or at least that's something I read in computer math. Yeah. So these things are clicking. Yeah, I was just tripping when he called it the Lambda. I was going, oh my God, no wonder I use that same unit. Because it actually it interferes with normal physics to use Lambda in my case.
Okay.
But yeah, I can find that and put it on the blackboard here and have it to show later. So people that are following the fractal part can use it. Oh, here it is. 3 to the negative power of 2 will equal 1/9. So that's lambda to the first power. And what I found, it seemed to me, kept going deeper and deeper into smaller and smaller numbers, but you use powers of lambda. Oh, wow. What happened?
You go blank?
My screen just went gone on me.
Oh, there it is.
I don't know if they can see the formula right there.
Okay.
So powers of lambda are either 1 over 3 to the power of 2n or 3 to the negative 2n, depending on which way you want to go. And so the numbers end up being 1 over 81, 1 over 729, and I mean, them are right in his lambda chart. The reason I liked it is 3 to the negative power of 4, 1 over 81. That gives you your numbers. 0.0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's lambda squared. So it fits powers of E, brings E into the phi and P mathematics that I've been introducing.
Yes.
And you can see E to the 1 over 43 lambda is 2 times phi, or the square root of 5 minus 1. So this whole system goes into E, sacred geometry, powers of 3 into the nanoscale. I was just blown away that it possibly is going to fit, you know?
That's so cool. I love it when math fits. Then everything else starts to fit. We need to digitize the wizard scroll. He likes that. Character thing.
Oh, I have a big scroll. I do. That's funny.
That's awesome.
It's like that wide. Where am I? Yeah, it's got all
Nice.
kinds of geometric relations that I've laid out, and then this big pattern that I think is like an antenna. But I don't know. I'm still researching something called patch antennas, and there's one, the name eludes me right now, that I just learned about that is so weird. The way you connect the antenna, you would think it would short out your whole system, but it ends up being an antenna.
So it says on here, Victor seems to unify macro with micro in constants of nature.
I've been trying, yeah, to break it down to electricity.
Mm.
And so the first time I presented, that's where I had it, was I was balancing the two dielectrics that I found, or I feel were the dielectrics way of measuring or playing with volumes at that scale using fractals. Sierpinski's gasket seems to be really important. If you take Sierpinski's gasket to powers of 2, you'll get the square root of 2 pi, 4 pi, and then a perfect triangle, 496.9 or 0.7 times pi. So these are like, to me, it's the Sierpinski's gasket either layered in time or it's built up as a 3D unit. So it's fully capacitance and inductance in one module. And for it to be 2 pi and 4 pi, it can be used in constants of all of the physics. It could be plugged right in place. Replace 2 pi with the Sierpinski power. So the symbolic math could just... I know there's somebody out there right now putting it into an AI. I hope you share. I feel you. I hope you share it. Oh.
So can you...
Sacred geometry?
Yes.
That's what I work with every day.
Yep.
I love it.
I mean,
That's the
circles,
key.
come on.
Well, there's a little more to it than circles, but
Well,
yeah, I get what you mean. I think of it as a series of line inductors, or consider it a series of line magnets, and with the ability to spin them and focus the null zone into the center of that open core and be able to manipulate temperature, sound, light, energy,
There's a new material.
time. I don't like saying that one too much because people get nervous, but
True.
and you can use water as the ground system. So think about this. You guys were doing I didn't finish it all. I think I'm maybe halfway through your open mic from yesterday.
Okay.
You guys were talking about using the groundwater through the aquifers as a ground line, right?
Yes.
So if that be the case, now the implications of that are far more reaching than you can imagine. So let's go into the woo a little bit. Let's say the tree of life was pure electricity and water was the ground system. And if that was to be able to travel all throughout Earth, Earth itself would be... Just a thought.
Yeah. Well, I think it all ties in that way.
Well, think about electroculture. It's the exact same effect. If you're grounding your negative electricity into the soil, it's affecting the elements in a certain way and giving you the ability to communicate between those elements and between point to point. So if you were able to positively charge the air above your grounding system, turning it into a circuit, electroculture comes into play, time dilation comes into play, the frequency of the one subject we can't talk about on this channel comes into
Yes.
play. All of that comes together in one system, including shielding or force fields or call it invisibility cloaking, due to the shielding factor of the electromagnetic resonance within the bubble that you've created, and the opposite polar bubble on the outside of that bubble that you created is your I'm trying to explain it in terms where everybody can understand it. Think of it as a bubble inside a bubble. One bubble's going one way, the other bubble's going the other way. They're both gyroscopic. And in between those two bubbles is your heat/time dilation factor that allows you to have a different time ability on the inside than you do on the outside. And because of that, you're able to manipulate the frequency of everything that's growing, living, and breathing within that inner bubble. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. But
Hopefully, I didn't go off on a tangent.
So
it's like walking on the surface of the Earth. We're already in the dilation field. That's what we were discussing last time. So when the center of the Earth turns, it turns one way. When the outside field of the Earth turns, it turns another way.
Yep.
And we have our counter rotation, and then we are in the dielectric field, or in the time dilation field here. And then we have the waves on the outside that create the Van Allen belt.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. I believe that the
Unless
waves
you're talking,
go ahead.
Are you talking about the center of the Earth, and we have counter rotation inside the center bubble of the center of the Earth?
Well, think of it as an egg inside an egg inside an egg.
We got a Russian nesting doll situation?
Kind of. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but my theory is that there's a giant plasmatic form in the center of the Earth that's rotating in one direction. The outside of that inner surface is rotating in another direction, and so on outside the crust, and then where we are, which actually helps create that electromagnetic field that stops everything from coming in, so to speak. Did I explain that correctly, or I'm not sure if you quite caught that?
No, I think I did.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about it for a second.
Yeah, so it is like a Russian nesting doll, so to speak, in my theory.
But in the original center, is there a top and bottom and then an outside field in the center core?
I would think of it more like a spherical magnet with two poles that are constantly shifting, changing, and rotating.
Well, they have found that in the Earth's crust, there are these two gigantic magnetic blobs. Oh man, there's this guy that presents. He's so good. I can't think of it now. Oh, that bothers me. Anyway, yeah, two big magnetic blobs moving around down there.
Yeah, so I kind of wonder if plasma is what's connecting those two blobs, giving that inside rotation sort of a anti-gravitic ability so that it actually sits inside of a hollow cavity. Kind of like what my coil does with a magnet when it's holding it up as it spins.
I got a question for you on that. Say a bubble that we can inflate to a certain point and then oscillate so that gravity is dispersed on the outside surface of that bubble. and time would be translated differently inside. And speaking on the electroculture, you said we could control even the elements on the interior of the bubble. So does that mean that all I need to have is like water wicking to my tree and I won't have to water it? Because I was thinking I would have to stop every once in a while accelerating and make the bonsai tree get old and have to go in and feed it and fertilize it and cut it and then start it again.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, because the tree
See,
isn't
you're
going to
not.
be as easy to accelerate through time and get growth out of as a jug of wine would be, where it's a closed environment and you're going to let it off gas.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, well, there's a little bit more complexity to that than I'm actually explaining. There would be an inflow and outflow, obviously, right? But that's interesting. I have to look at my notes and consider that because I never thought of that. I know that with my electroculture experiments, I can pull 5 crops a year rather than most people pulling, like, say, 1 or 2 indoor. I can pull 5 because of the speed and the rate of growth.
Is that vegetation?
That's vegetation.
Okay. Because
But when it comes to elements like, sorry?
I'm looking at like grapes and bonsai trees and fruits. So yeah,
I haven't done it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll have to try it on my grapes.
Yeah, I haven't done experiments on fruit.
I'm going to do it then. Yeah. I'll add that to my rain chain monitoring experiment and run a cable out to the grapes too. I got enough alarm wire and speaker wire to do it. So
Nice. Hold on.
can't
Sorry.
see you though.
Oh, right.
Miss you.
Hey, I had Gerald.
There we go. I forgot my camera was off.
I thought maybe you weren't going to grace us with your presence.
Oh, no. There's nothing to grace here.
Sometimes
got
I gotta turn
presents,
mine
hey.
off. You know when you gotta pick your nose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm kidding.
Could have said
No,
something.
sometimes I'll turn mine off for a minute, just to give myself a break.
Well, I'll shut it off sometimes because there's people walking by, right?
Yeah.
So that whole, sorry guys, the whole groundwater thing, Gerald, that thing, how do I want to say this? When you put it in there, so it's ground, but it's a semiconductor, isn't it? The water?
Well, it's
So-
a dielectric, right? So it's the same as scalar in a sense, or ether, or there's so many names. It's just incredible. But think of it like if you could produce ether, scalar, whatever, because water's a dielectric, it's going to transfer through that just as fast as if it was. I don't know how to. I'm trying to give a good analogy, but I can't think of one right now. But basically, because water's a dielectric and scalar's a dielectric, if you can resonate the two, well, you're using it as a ground. It's almost instantaneous, or so it seems. I haven't measured speed when it comes to that so far. I've done a recent experiment with water and I recorded it, but I think I'm gonna do a live maybe Wednesday for the water thing rather than put the video. That way you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So yeah.
If something is going faster than the speed of light, how would you even measure it? Is there a way to measure it?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
They say interferometry is the best way, but I don't know. I guess that just depends on what you're trying to measure. How do you measure the speed of light through water? Like it's
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question too.
Our mathematician here might be able to help us with that. I'm not sure.
Sound and water?
Yeah, well,
depth and density, I believe, would change it. I haven't.
I know it's going to take some testing for this one.
Yes. So Sean says only distilled water is a dielectric, not groundwater, because groundwater has minerals in it as a conductor.
True. That's interesting. I when it comes to using a river, I've done the test, but it was very short. Like my distance was maybe 10 feet, and I was still lighting LEDs. But again, like you said, it could be conductive because of the minerals and God knows what else is in the river, kind of thing.
So let me ask you this: when we're talking about this, are we sure that it's grounding into the water and not grounding into the ground through the water?
Well, the test that I based this theory on originally was I took a large, like, plastic Tupperware tub that you store stuff in, like storage bin. I filled it halfway full of water, and then I ran 2 vortex coils that are identical, one on either side of the container, and I grounded the one line in one side, and I picked up the ground line on the other coil on the other side. I picked up the same amount of power as pulsing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So was the water conductive? It was tap water. It shouldn't have been. It wasn't distilled. It was just right out of the tub tap water. Just wanted to see if it would work, right? Because I've heard all these stories where the Tesla hairpin circuit could be underwater. You can grab it with your hands, light lights. It isn't going to bother you at all because it's cold electricity. Well, everything that I've seen and shown and discussed with you guys says the same thing. So that's why I did that test. And I want to do it with something that's bigger, maybe in my tub, but my tub's conductive because it's metal coated with ceramic, right? So
yeah,
I have to find something a little bigger. Not sure if the river's a conclusive test because, as they say, there's lots of elements and minerals.
Well, and they add things to it too, like fluoride and the
So how does that conclusive? I don't know, but
So I have a question, and there was a reason I was asking how it traveled. If we're ever going to reach down to the ether and ping it, we have to have something that makes a continuous ability to get to it. Now, the inside of the earth has water in it. We know that. We know it's trapped in the rocks. We know that we're going to go through a lot of minerals. So whether it's distilled or not is really irrelevant to what we're doing. It's going to have minerals in it. We should just all assume that right now.
How big do you want to pick the earth?
That's the thing. Here's what I'm getting at. The whole thing with Tesla, when he did his Tesla, the big tower, okay, he tapped into the water there. Now, that water goes through the earth all the way down, probably, I wouldn't say all the way to the core, but close enough, and it surrounds it as a field around the entire core. So the sphere is inside the sphere, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you look at it that way, how hard is it to ping it when you have a sphere of energy around it?
You want to ring the bell, you have to use something that taps the bell.
That's right.
And you're going to have to go to a special spot. I think the reason why that Tesla used Colorado Springs is because the aquifer that was there is deep water aquifer. It's not just your regular, what we drink out of in the country, so to speak. It went deep. And he knew that somehow. Maybe it's because it's connected to, come on, brain. The big falls there in New York.
So from what I heard, he built it to be just like the pyramid is sitting on, the same type of system. So he was looking for something. And he probably figured if they ping it, he can ping it. He also knew the pyramids draw water up. Therefore, he knew he can hit it. That's why I asked the question how you saw it, because it means a lot.
Yep. Niagara Falls. Thank you, Mr. Lanius or Lanius. I'm not sure if I'm spelling it correctly.
There's a point on that.
Go ahead.
Like Schauberger, study nature and then replicate.
Yep.
If out here at Aaron's site where Eric Dollard and everybody's doing the work on the telluric currents and all that, and they have their there's a guy there called Griffin Brock. He's building a scale version of the Alexanderson antenna we looked at the other day or talked about for the teleportation. They use a gigantic capacitor full of water to get a 0 ohm connection to the earth. So if you're wanting to build something that's going to power your house, you want this. If you go check out, I believe they used 2 55-gallon drums, and he made a capacitor, and they showed how they did it all.
Yeah.
You might want to watch
water.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
and they
cool.
I'm going to look at
Awesome.
how
I
he
didn't
wired
know
his
that.
up. Like I said, I can build one here too, so I'm looking for drums. Yeah, Griffin also he replicated one of Tesla's bulbs that is totally safe. You can put a camera and have the bulb here, and anything you put in the middle, you are filming the contents of.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Safe. The kid built them he's not a kid. I'm 60. He's 20s or whatever, but
to you, I get it.
He's brilliant. The guy's brilliant. I mean, sorry.
Yeah. No, I get it. That's interesting. I've been doing tests with this stuff for 2008, 2009, and I haven't had any null effects, things that have gone wrong. But in my big coil, those bubbles are bigger, and they make me just a little nervous. I don't want to do any more tests with it because this thing's being contained now. I have Evos that are contained in this epoxy. I don't know what they're going to do when they come out.
Well, they're trying to reach the other wire, so it's digging a hole to do it. Or do you think it's just creating a plasmoid?
You know what? I think it's created a plasmatic sphere that's coming out of, I don't know if it's the coil or the dielectric of the system itself. And they were tiny before, and there was very little. Now there's a whole bunch of them, and there's 4 big ones that look like they're full of a nice, very nice color that everybody loves. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
And,
Yeah.
and
Maybe a nice purple.
no, I was thinking more like the color of that ring that sits right there.
The gold?
Yeah, I just don't want to see it, right?
Oh, okay.
That's
I
the
know. I
color.
okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I looked through it through my 1,000-time magnifier, and I don't even know what to think or say. But I don't know how to tap it. I don't know what to deal with it.
I think you're right. I think you're creating plasma or plasma structures that are embedded in your system. Because the more you run it, the more they will embed themselves in your system, right?
Well, before I put it in epoxy, I ran a test with, was it 36 volts? I think I got it on video, and I thought I was getting breakout in the bottom of the coil. You shouldn't have breakout with 36 volts. It's nothing, right? But I had 5 perfectly little, what looked like spheres to the human eye, but they were like little spark gaps that sat in perfect configuration around the bottom of my coil in perfect geometry. So I looked at that and went, okay, I got to put the sucker in epoxy, and that way I can shut that down. But it doesn't really stop it from happening. It more like it contains it in the epoxy from what I've seen. And now I'm not really.
Hold on. Let me just describe something to you. When you deal with high voltage, now just understand this. Because you're multiplying the amount of energy going in and you're reducing the amp level even further than it was, you're going to get the field, the dielectric field, to want to jump. So if these are your 2 conductors in high voltage, the way it goes is the distance controls where you're getting your plasma coming out. So right here, straight charge, here's plasma, here's sparks, right?
Yep.
So you're putting them at the distance where you get plasma, but you're not allowing to form the plasma by putting epoxy in the middle of it. So it's trying to break out, and every time it tries to break out, it can't go anywhere. So it stays in there and it digs and digs and digs. What I'm curious about because it's a solid, now you're turning it into you take a gas to it or a heated gas to it. How is the evaporation coming out of it? Because the holes do not connect to each other. So where is that stuff going?
Well, that's what I'm concerned about, because it doesn't look like it's going anywhere just yet. It's still contained in it, like an electret, but it's starting to build up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're missing epoxy. You don't have epoxy in that hole anymore. Where did it go?
The material
I never thought of
it's
that.
gone. Yeah, the material is gone, and this is a lot of what we see in the Matsumoto, I believe, experiments, where just the materials just disappear, and where
I
are
agree
they?
with you.
Like big chunks of sphere.
95% of the experiments that Bob Grenier discusses are all uncontrolled evos. They're not flukes. They know how to make them. They don't know how to control them. They don't know how
Right.
they're gonna.
I'm just saying
take
the
off, where they're
missing
gonna go.
material is very similar, and I
I
think
agree 100%.
I think because plasmoids or structured plasma has the ability to just disassociate elements.
I've kind of kept away from that subject because it makes people real nervous. But
Yeah.
I know what resonance at 180 degree out of phase does with a spark gap in between, and you can add elements, and let's just say that goes to our mathematician's theory on how things are created in certain ways. I've seen things.
Okay, hold on. What if it's riding the wire itself and comes out in the center, and that's where its evaporation is because it turns into a gaseous state? There's probably some charring, so you probably have some carbon on the inside of it. No carbon.
No charge looks gold and silver.
So
That's what the balls look like.
So what you're saying is you have transmutation. So you have something that Bernie would know everything about going on inside your coil.
He knows a bunch about transmutation. I would say Bob Grenier is closer on the track as to what I'm seeing, but Bob Grenier's work is, like I said, it's on uncontrollable evos.
So
I
hold
know
on.
what my system.
But transmutation is a marker for evos, so I think we're on the right track in terms of like figuring out what exactly is going on with your system specifically. You know what I mean? Like that's
okay. So I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna come out and say it. Stop beating around the bush. Okay. I've made a coil that you can literally put together, have fog, steam. Fog works better. Float around the system as you're running it at certain frequencies, and you can seed it in the center.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
then
cool.
just allow things to change.
No, hold on.
When you have a true vortex coil, supposedly you can see it with like gas, like smoke or whatever.
Yeah, or elements.
Hold on. You said there's a seed in the center. Stop right there. You're telling me there's something more there. So hold on. Let's break this apart a little bit.
No, you seed the center. You put something there.
You put something
there. And because the resonance that you're using resonates with the seed that's there, and you have fog involved, that plasmatic form and scalar that gets involved with the components that are all in there.
Let's just say under pressure.
But that's just the point. That null zone that sits right in the center of this coil has its own pressure. It's like a negative. I don't know how to explain it. Think of it like a tiny black hole sphere right in the center. Not that could exist, but you know what I mean. And I've seen things that I don't really release because, again, people start to get nervous. As we've seen, there's videos being done in the last few days about there's like in-house fighting amongst physicists and scientists right now about who found this and whose name's on this, and let's claim that. I really don't care. Let's just get
saw that last night.
Yeah,
Something about one of the guys on APEC that discovered an equation that gave him gravity. And when he said the equation, I had to type in. I'm like, oh my God, I found the same charge separation. I'm going, and the same formula. I'm digging in my notes now.
But that's just the point. Lots of people found it.
I was wrong.
Really?
He multiplied the mass of the proton times the mass of the electron in hydrogen, and then got the square root and took the log. I divided the two because I assumed that division was the charge separation. But he said, no, you got to multiply the two because of conservation of energy. They were once the same. And he says that's what gives us all this stuff, is somehow hydrogen separated into two separate charges that wound up being the core of everything. But he found gravity that way. And I was just going, oh my God, I guess I have the inverse of it and there ain't no negative gravity. So I got to change my math. And that's exactly where I was the other day, realizing I have to start taking my values and multiplying them. Because I've been going ratios the whole time, finding the pattern in the fractals.
I don't want to admit that Sal is right. Love you, Sal. Love you, Sal. But I don't want to admit that he's right just because he could have came up with a better name than that. Come on, brother. Super Force. Really? This isn't Flash Gordon. I'm just saying, you know.
Super Force? Do we all get like matching t-shirts and stuff with this?
You know, I love the guy's work. I think, you know, he's definitely got it, but I don't want to give him credit for that. I'm just saying, Sal, you're probably going, but you know, I'm just being honest, man. I don't know. I think that it was found a long time ago. I wouldn't personally try and patent anything like that. I think it should be released.
He's trying to patent it?
Well, no, he already did patent his equations that state it, right?
What it's a bunch of b-holes.
It's a Navy it's a Navy patent in his name, basically. Right?
Yep. Every time I watch Star Trek episodes, I always think, yep, this is old Navy. Think Navy and Star Trek's spot on. But I have a question. What's an EVO?
Oh, exotic vacuum objects. So basically ball lightning.
Oh, is that what
we're calling? So it's a sphere that's gyroscopic that's being contained by plasma, holding in the scalar, you know, usually created by spark, but it depends. There's many ways of creating plasma.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something I've been seeking. That's what this little model represents. I've been looking for the little container for the plasma.
Oh,
it's a plasma globe that I broke that I was experimenting with, trying to see if I could take one that operated on 12 volts AC, low amperage, and then one that operated on 120 volts AC, and just put a transformer between them and spark one of them with this little plasma igniter that I have that's 12 volt, goes in a cigarette lighter. I was trying to see if I could spark one and get the plasma to spark the other and have the transformer be a closed loop between the two and then try to separate them. But I busted this one. It just messed up. So
next time, if you're going to try that experiment, here's a suggestion. Put aluminum foil between the two plasma balls. Aluminum foil seems to transfer the energy out of the ball like instantly.
Better. Yeah, that's probably why it sparked and cracked the glass. Huh.
Yeah, there's actually a system where a gentleman takes a piece of cardboard and he wraps aluminum foil around it, uses it as an electrode, puts it on the plasma sphere, he wraps, I think, 4 lines of 8-gauge copper wire around it, and then taps that into a step-down transformer and uses that to light a bunch of lights. There's some capacitors involved in there for balancing and stuff, but that's the basic idea.
Real quick, guys, Ben wants to show his thing. He's been putting it up. Let me just say this. If your desire is to go quickly to the patent office, if there's literally smoke coming from your feet to get there, okay, I got two fingers, two barrels for you right here. Okay. Both of them are, you can have both of them. I don't have any respect for you.
Yeah.
Okay. You bring it to the community, you share it, and that's the way it works. Okay.
Absolutely.
I could spend my whole life writing papers. Okay. And I can use every scientific word, or I can show experiments on YouTube and fix the science that we have now. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you get the heavy side, you get to Tesla, they both want to puke with all these mathematicians. They want to vomit. It's disgusting. Okay? This isn't science. This is people running to the patent office like, I can't have it. And it's like, dude, that's to you. I don't want anything to do with you.
I use the heavy side component in my system. It's actually kind of part of it. So.
All right, Ben, since I gave you such a great intro, here we go.
So this is the Bedini SG solid state circuit that Mike modified for the rodent coil, and I added the channel A and channel B tags so you can see on the circuit where I'll be connecting channel A positive and negative and channel B positive and negative. So in this next picture, you can see that I made this rail channel A input, and then this rail channel B input. And then these 4 wires in the corner are for your charge and power batteries. And let me actually show you. Let me disable this on my camera. So I actually modified this. Why is the background still on? Hold on one second. Virtual background. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I actually modified this and put speaker terminals on the breadboard as well for the power and charge battery inputs, so they're a little easier. And all I did was take a little bit of magnetic enameled wire, and I burnt and soldered off the ends. I measured it, very small bits, and I didn't even bother soldering it. I tried to. It wouldn't solder very good, probably because of the glue in the back. But I popped open the little, there's a little like disc, or not disc, but a little tray, a metal tray that you can pop open. And I just put the wire in there and put it back in. And those trays connect the lines on the breadboard. So I didn't solder it on the back. I just, shoved it in there, put it back, and then taped it up. And I tested it for continuity, and it works. A little janky, so if it doesn't end up working too well, then we will take this off and just plug it right into the breadboard. But this is for phase 2 testing of the rodent coil. We're trying to move the system outside of the stereo amp receiver setup. And Sean wanted an update on some of my research, and I don't think Sean saw the oscilloscope results. I'll show you. So this is what we got when the coil is in resonance, and it's a pretty interesting waveform. And as you can see, when I zoom in, it produces basically what John Bedini described as a perfect H wave. And that explains a lot of the behavior, what's going on with the coil in terms of getting the over unity. That's the extra energy coming out of the system. It explains everything, really. And as you can see, this is John Bedini's diagram of the H wave, what you're going to be looking for. So I'd say that kind of explains what's going on with the system. And this is good news, because this means that the coil will be able to work theoretically with the Bedini circuit, because Bedini circuit produces this H wave, right? So
now, Ben, all you got to do is find out if you can, where it's coming from. So I would imagine it's coming from when the coil is crossed, but you know what I mean? You have to find a way to find that.
And then try to replicate that outside of the stereo amp receiver on the Bedini circuit. Yeah. But I have a feeling that once we get the Bedini circuit working, we just have to tune it to the right frequency of the coil, around 800 hertz. you know, and if we can get the circuit running at 800 hertz, then that's the frequency the coil naturally produces this H wave, it looks like. So, you know, I have a feeling that it's just going to work as long as we tune it right.
Is there a capacitor in your circuit?
Yeah.
You notice that spike on the screen there is 300 volts. The Bedini,
That's all I got.
The
But I do
Bedini
have a larger capacitor if I need it.
Yeah, I was thinking you might experiment with different values of capacitance just because of that 300, or keep the same value and try to find a 300 volt when you get that thing tuned. Because if that spike is as high as 300 volts, you'll keep popping your circuit and think it's off, but it just might be the value. I didn't notice that thing go to 300 volts.
Sean says he has instructions published on in a science journal. Send me that, Sean. Email that to me, beneficencetv@gmail.com. Here, I'll put that in the chat. But yeah, email that to me. I'd like to take a look because I'd like to know where our research intersects in terms of what I found with my coil, because my coil doesn't seem to be doing exactly the same thing as the Nunez coils. Mine's a little bit different, and I need to know why.
Is that the gentleman with the spherical capacitor, Nathan?
The spherical Tesla coil, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to chat someday with him too.
I'll set you up with his information.
Okay. His Teslas are beautiful.
Yeah, those coils are awesome. Hey, Ben, real quick. One thing I was going to tell you, I have a change in my Tesla coil when I change the resistance amount. So if you change it by a slight amount, you can see if it changes it at all. It should change the frequency because it changes the amount of resistance in it. So it's like you're changing how fast it pumps.
Right.
So what you can also do when you do this is you could put the resistor in at a smaller value and then make up the value with the potentiometer, and that'll give you an ability to adjust it.
Right.
So build a voltage controlled oscillator out of it?
Yeah. I can do that.
Or would it be frequency controlled voltage?
Well, what you're doing, so the reason why we did it was we were looking for the Tesla coil, and I wanted to see if I can change that so I can see how fast I can get the thing to switch, if I can get it to switch a little faster. So it just changes the amount of power coming out of your Tesla coil a little bit when you're on a Slayer exciter circuit.
So this is a video from the first presentation I did in public for the coil. And this is actually me for the first time discovering exactly how to reproduce the monopole. If you're a Patreon supporter, you've already had access to this video, but I wanted to share it with everybody. And it's very simple. All I was doing, because I wasn't able to find, I found it, one time, and I was like, how did I do that? And it's very simple. I just needed to crank up the power. So when you resonate the coil at 800 hertz or this coil at 800 hertz and you get this waveform, right? You crank up the power to, it needs to be, I think, I was getting at least 30 volts. So you can see I'm not getting anything. It's not really getting a lot of power though. So I'll be cranking up the, yeah, so I'm cranking it up a little bit.
Hey Ben, sorry
it.
about that. Can you rewind just a little bit?
Yeah.
And go back to the oscilloscope?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know you're presenting it. That's what I want to see. So if the lines in the center are divided, are you getting a double H wave? One on the top, one on the bottom?
Yes, it's perfectly symmetrical on the top and bottom.
Okay.
Like you can see the little tiny spikes and everything on the ends.
That's what I wanted to know. Because you have two coils crossing. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
1 second, Ben. Something that I noticed. That voltage right there. Okay, it was changing to 1.4 and the other one was 1.2.
Yeah.
if is one voltage and one current, or are they both voltage?
They're both voltage.
Okay, well, when you showed it, one was 1.2 and the other was 1.4, you've got Koch curve and the square root of 2. Your voltages are, so maybe the fractals balance is somehow in voltage too.
Oh, yeah, like one's one side and one's the other.
I just saw that. I don't know if it, because the voltages are not remaining, but it clicked. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's a good observation too. I didn't consider that.
Oh, that's 2.6. Yeah. That's phi squared, actually. I'm sorry. You had square root 2 and phi squared.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So you
Victor
see,
doesn't even have the coil, and he's already figured it out. Look at him go.
You see, I'm struggling to try to pick up any kind of pole, and I'm slowly increasing the gain because the stereo is a little more powerful now. And then I found it. And there it is, a pseudo magnetic monopole. Pretty cool. And that's how you can do it with your rodent coil if you find that frequency.
So what do you mean by a pseudo magnetic monopole for our audience?
So it's not a true magnetic monopole from what I understand. And this is from the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project Discord community. Kind of like schooled me on this. A true magnetic monopole would be like a small microparticle, like that I guess we would observe in physics, quantum physics, stuff like that. I'm not really too familiar on it, but a pseudo monopole is something that we can create that mimics the effects of that.
Dirac wrote an equation for a monopole.
Like a desktop black hole is what they call it technically. So when
I was talking earlier about elements, having a null zone of a perfect sphere sitting in the center of the coil, that would be like a monopole, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's not like I was calling it a monopole for a while, and then I realized, they made me realize it's not a true monopole. It's something that we're mimicking,
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I can pick up. You'll see in the Patreon, and I'll release these videos on YouTube eventually when I have more time. But I do show the difference where I picked up the north and south pole blinking back and forth. And that's basically at 60 hertz or whatever, comes out of the wall.
Okay, I get what you mean by that.
Like outside of the range that it rings at, I guess.
I've got. I wouldn't have known this unless I bought the new scope, but when I put say 100,000 hertz in my coil, I'm pulling out like 2 megahertz. It increases that much, right? It's insane.
Okay, say that one more time. What the numbers were?
When I put 100,000 hertz into my coil, I get out 2 megahertz. Sorry, Victor, you're gonna have to show that again.
Is that 1 megahertz? 100,000 hertz?
Yeah, 100,000 hertz, right? So 100 kilohertz, and I'm getting out 2 megahertz.
Nice.
Right?
So it's like amplifying the frequency.
Yeah, and the voltage. In fact, I wouldn't have it on video. All I could show you is screenshots of the waveforms. So,
but that's crazy. That's awesome. How it's like amplifying the frequency.
It's nuts.
And that's a lot. That's a big amplification. That's doubling, right?
Doubling? That's more than doubling.
Ooh.
You said 2 megahertz to, or 1 megahertz to 2 megahertz, or 1 megahertz to
100K.
Oh, 100K to.
Okay, so hold on, Gerald.
Okay.
So if you've created a Tesla coil inside your coil, just understand what that means. So you're taking a coil and then you're running it, right? You're turning it on, and then it turns another one on. However, you're driving the frequency up. You're also driving the voltage up. So you're removing more amps, and it's going an oscillation up and down. Okay. But what does that mean for your pickup coils? it's catching the oscillation as it goes up and down. Okay, so you're not connecting it one to one. You're connecting it with multiple areas into one, so you get a bigger amplification out of it.
Oh yeah, I get crazy stuff like this.
You're building it. It's a pump. You've literally built a pump. That's what it is.
Can I share screen this for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Let me put it up for you. So there you go.
Okay, let me just find it. Why isn't it showing?
Were you putting it up, Gerald, or
Yeah,
were you,
no,
Victor?
I was going to put it up.
Oh, okay.
from
I'm
my-
sorry. That's my fault.
Okay.
Sorry, Gerald. Let me do it for you.
No,
There you
it's
go.
okay. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Share screen.
Oh, you had
always
something to
do it.
share. It wasn't you. Okay, hold on. I'm misreading the whole thing here. There we go.
Ooh.
So that is that reactor core coil. The one that has just the one pickup on the outside. I was only using 10,000 or sorry, 10K on a pulse on this. And I was getting 131K and 97 volts peak to peak. And I was only using a 12-volt battery. So that, like, I've got waveforms that are insane. I don't even know how
And
to.
those are some massive spikes. Look at how large those spikes are. That's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And they're different coils that I'm showing. I wasn't going to show this next one, but I'm going to anyway. Okay, so that's actually on the outside of that reactor core coil. I get a almost a perfect sine wave.
Yeah, that's
Is that
nice.
60 volt pulses or
Sorry?
what's that? In the middle
That
of
one's-
PPP, volts per pulse?
Volts per pulse
Yeah.
or volts per peak from peak to peak.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm looking for this one waveform. I'm sorry. Give me one sec. Here it is. This is the waveform for pulsing the mithril coil.
What? Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before.
That's
yeah, and
almost
I
like
was
a
only,
palindrome. That's weird.
and I was
Yeah.
pulsing that at what was it? I gotta remember now. I'd have to look at my notes actually on that one.
But the frequency on the oscilloscope says 4.25 M.
Yeah, that's mega. Oh my gosh, I'm brain farting right now. It's trying to think of certain things. Yeah, that's when it comes to frequency, that's like say 4.25 million hertz,
Yep, megahertz.
megahertz. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing now.
I don't
Yeah.
think I've gone that high. I think my oscilloscope, my tone gen only goes up to 1 megahertz.
Just look at my notes if I can find
I
my
like
notes.
it though. That little mini one, it's so nice. It's so nifty.
The
Like,
mithril
it's
coil,
handy.
yeah. Okay, so I was pulsing that one at 144,000 hertz. That's the gold and
144,000
silver
hertz.
copper coil. That's what I was
Interesting.
pulsing it at to get 4.2 megahertz. Go figure.
Yeah, 144,000. Interesting. That's an interesting number right there.
Yeah, so the waveforms, and there's a lot I haven't shown on waveforms just because I've seen them in other channels like MTech Industries. He shows the waveform of the wireless transmission on his system and his Tesla coils. I have the exact same waveform. Your H bar, I could probably, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was an H bar in that series of pictures.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell unless you like zoom in and get to the exact area. 'Cause
Yeah,
I know
so many spikes, right?
Yeah, and then I noticed when we were looking at somebody's, I don't know if it was your waveform or another gentleman's waveform like a week ago. There were those H forms, but there were many bumps on the top, and you had to kind of
Oh,
zoom in to see them, but they were there,
True.
But yeah, it's sometimes hard to get a good picture of some of these things. Like I had to zoom in, you don't know what you're looking at until you see the right area of the waveform.
You're right. You're right. You have to zoom in. You have to change your voltage. You have to mess around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I never would have seen that if I didn't get that new scope.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was-
No, the oscilloscopes are so.
Him that influenced me to do it.
That's awesome. No, the oscilloscopes are so useful now. Now that I'm using one, I'm like, I needed this like months ago.
I built all this stuff without an oscilloscope, without doing the math, without just following intuition in my dreams. That's it.
But
That's
makes
not
it
a brag. I call it luck. Call it what you want. I fully believe I was led, but anyway, go ahead.
I think that makes your discoveries a lot more significant, because like you said, you're based on intuition and you're following a higher purpose. So,
Well, this was all based on one dream when it all started, right? And then from there, I've met incredible people that have taught me incredible things, and trying to find the theory that fits the system has been incredibly difficult. I went to the science community, explained what it was I had, explained what it was doing, showed the anomalies. No one wanted to talk about it because I believe that it would negate half of their papers. And
Oh, it
because
does.
they get paid,
Right.
they can't mess with their system. I get it.
Well,
But
you're creating an ether. They don't believe in it.
yeah, but they'll believe in quantum physics, which is the exact same thing. They just bastardize the word ether in order to steal the glory of all these different experimenters over the last 60 to 100 years by slapping a name on it and calling it academia has literally depicted that which we need. Come on. If they did, we'd be already in the sky. And if they could, I'm sure they would, but they have to follow the money, and the money dictates you ain't looking at this stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me, please. I'll admit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I don't hate
Follow
on
the
the
money.
conditions, Victor. Don't get me wrong. I think the system's broken, not the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
just
you're right.
said it's what they need, and they don't need us leaving because then there's nothing left for them to control and get to do the work for them. They've
Yeah.
always needed workers. Now we're making robots. That'll be
Mhm.
the next thing that'll rise up and say, hey, you guys are kind of taking advantage of us and feeding us a bunch of.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's
for
another
sure,
thing about
right?
this tech, right? And this is what's going to be difficult in the future. Robots don't like this tech.
Hmm.
I can't say much more than that because it may cause us issues. But robots don't like scaling.
No.
It won't. Their operating systems just can't handle it.
Electronics.
Well, if you think about it, like, and I believe this is where Marco Rodin is correct. Our computer engineering it ignores the 369 pattern, so it's not made for that. Technically, it's not compatible.
When a chip is made to operate at 5 volts and drives are made to operate at 12, and you come along with something that angular momentum changes and all your electrons accelerate, that whole system's going to fuzz.
Mm.
Yeah, Wi-Fi
Wow.
You might be onto
That means
something
I got
there,
to ground
Gerald.
my computer. Good.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about, man. You raise an important issue there. That's all I'll say.
I'm going to get an
I've thought
RF.
about this stuff.
I'm
I've
gonna
had
get
to
one of them.
change 3 routers because of this tech. So
That and your cat.
Hmm?
I said that and your cat last week.
Oh man, that was aggravating. I watched it spill. Went, no.
Aw.
What do you do?
You wish you had one of them little watches that could stop time and catch the spill.
Yeah.
I put it in the back room. It was getting in the way of things. Every time I stopped time, I had to do more dishes. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
So Sean asked what the cat did to the router.
My wife's glass was sitting on the counter beside it, and the cat jumped up and hit the glass, and it literally just went dunk. And I watched it pour right into the router and go.
Oh.
So
Ugh.
there was no internet for me till the next day. But I was up at 9 o'clock that morning. I was off to the store and I took care of it. So
Nice.
that's life. Take the good with the bad, take the bad with the good, whatever, right?
Well, they helped you look at the screen in the beginning of the show, and then they destroyed the whole thing at the end. Maybe they didn't like what was going on.
Maybe.
They had enough.
Cats are funny, right?
That's great. I love those cats, man. They always try to get the screen when they're kittens, and they think that it moves, so they got to get the movement.
Oh yeah, they'll chase the mouse on the screen. It's crazy. I didn't think they could see it. They do.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah. So I think you might have found the math, Victor, to describe my system. I've been reading, applying what you have there. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not very good at math. I'm okay, and so far it seems to fit. I don't know. You may have something there. If I have something, you may have something. I'm not saying they're intertwined, but it's very interesting stuff.
Well, I think if the universe is evolving, that we're all growing at the same rate in our own way.
Yeah. Well,
We
I
just
would
don't
love
see
to.
the whole vortex. That's where the other people are sitting. Their pointing vectors are looking in the same hole we're looking in. You know, they're just looking out of different holes.
Yeah, you could say that.
The fractal's full of little black holes, but they're all connected to one Mandelbrot set.
Yep. Or one Mandela, you could call it that. Well, no, it'd be more of a Mandelbrot set. You're right.
Yeah.
Because Mandela has an N. Yeah.
Boundary.
They got a lot of little black holes connected to one giant black hole, and that's what they call science. There we go.
Yeah, have you
But
ever
if you
noticed like
use-
some temples have patterns on the floor? Like maybe a square pattern, and then all of a sudden there'll be an area with a little offshoot of another like rectangular pattern. That's a folded dipole. So all four walls have a folded dipole hooked to the perimeter as a boundary.
See, what if a black hole, we've been lied to for so long, what if a black hole is nothing more than a door? Just a threshold. How would you know, right? Unless you actually traveled through one. I have an experiment we can do. Of course, it's going to take about 5 people to build the system to do it. The coil's over 14 feet in diameter.
Oh.
And it stands up end for end like this, not flat.
You building this a
My ultimate
Stargate there,
goal-
Gerald? I'm in.
Yeah. My ultimate goal is to build a nightclub inside a black hole's null zone.
Come on,
What
now.
goes up in the hole stays in the hole.
Yeah. The problem with that is you'd never get drunk. Time moves so fast. Every time you drank, you'd be swilling it back and you wouldn't get Yeah. That's interesting thought.
Hey, at least we make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if a black hole is just the opposite side of a white hole. You were to have
I often
coil
thought
systems, open a door, walk through. This side would be the white hole.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Well,
know.
I was thinking like when you condense matter into a single point like that, it's not just going to stay there. It has to have some kind of exhaust, right? It has to have somewhere to go.
Pocket radiation.
You would think.
That was what I was thinking, at least, but I could be wrong too.
So you guys want to hear something I wrote the other day? It has to go with what everybody's saying right now. I didn't come up with this. This is like, it's probably already been written. If mass is solid energy and the quantum of measure is mass, then the reduction of mass negates the entropy of time through the speed of light times the distance traveled in the opposite direction of the force of gravity. Does that make sense? Not sure if it's correct, but my brain wrote it down, so.
Wow. Say it one more time.
Yeah, say that one more time. I have to
So,
digest that.
if mass is solid energy and the quantum of measure is mass, then the reduction of mass negates the entropy of time through the speed of light times the distance traveled in opposite direction of the force of gravity.
I
don't
got the
know.
first part of that. I understood the first part. The second part, I'm gonna have to break down in my head more.
Which
Yeah.
was what? The
The negation of
entropy of time?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, so
But the
then
second part is a little more complex for my brain. I have to think about it a little bit.
so it negates the entropy of time through the speed of light. In other words, so if you were to negate mass through the speed of time, in other words, how fast you are going, you negate your mass, then the entropy of time, in other words, your aging process, would stop, or at least pause, depending on the distance you travel opposite to the direction of the gravity that you're normally in. That's kind of how
it comes to me is that you would shrink on that decreasing of mass, maybe like the way a time bubble would work. If you shrink it and vibrate, time goes forward. If you can expand it and vibrate it, time goes backwards.
Okay, but now
you're getting rid of all the space between the atoms and your density becomes at its maximum. Then time on the cells might stop because there's no space between them for the chaos to, I don't know, that's what came to me when you were talking, but that's just
that's kind of what my point was. I don't know if I worded it right, but you're right. The entropy of time stops the chaos in your body, so your cells don't age. In fact, they would, because of the way that time stops, you would actually be building energy within your own system and not reversing time, but reversing the aging process within your body to the point of, like, you're not going to get younger, but your hair color is going to come back. Your energy is going to come back. The ability to grow muscle is going to come back. All those things are going to become part of your new time because you've reversed your cellular aging frequency. I'm not sure if I'm putting that quite right. Does that make sense? I don't know
Makes sense.
I don't know. Like I said, I was just meditating and I wrote it down and I went, I got to bring that up to people and see. It's just a thought.
I'm going to have to watch this video again.
Hey, if it's wrong, tell me I'm wrong, because then I'll move down a different path. Right?
Good.
That's how I look at it.
Localized density ratio, yeah. But then how to maximize that on matter? Or
see, I kind of wondered, like, if you were to say, for instance, create an environment where the bubble that you're in is faster than the speed of time to the point where you change the frequency of every cell in your body, so that, how do I put that? Oh, I can't think of the term. I'm sorry. I'll have to get back to you on that. But basically, it's like separating all your cells, taking out all the noise, making it very, very clear so that the energy can flow properly, almost like superconductivity between each cell in your body. And when that occurs, there is no aging. It amps everything up to the point where it reformats your DNA from the very cell itself that holds that DNA. Now, I'm not saying that occurs. This is just a thought that happened, and I wrote it down. Right?
So
Interesting.
clean up our lives and get rid of the resistance between cells so that we can maintain our voltages instead of running it through the garbage we eat.
Something like that.
Goes back to that water ground, right?
Right?
Start with clean water.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So now you see where I'm seeing that from. It's all kind of connected in every way. Yeah.
Of course, it's connected.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of get to the ether a little bit more that we were talking about. Okay, kind of move a little away from this subject because it's kind of right on the line.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not. Yeah, you're right.
So
How do you back that up, right? I'm just talking about a theory about time and space. It's nothing to do with that subject.
gotcha. So what I was looking at is if Tesla's paying the ether, he must have the same energy as the ether. So in order for them to be able to continuously ping each other and then work through each other, you're going to have the same energy. So implosion and cold energy work better than explosion and hot energy.
You just nailed it. You just nailed it.
Absolutely.
I see the math now. How to Tesla said link to the wheelwork of the heavens. What's the most abundant element out there that we got the math to figure out the resonance of, to try to build a system to tune into it and
Rhodium.
use? Huh?
Protium, hydrogen.
Rhodium, hydrogen. Yeah, hydrogen. That's them basic radiuses that the fractal math I'm working with is. That's why I did that charge separation thing, and it's so close to another guy's work.
Mm.
And we know that
we're on
frequency from the sun is 1420 megahertz, 1420.46 megahertz.
So I've always said in order to lift something inside Earth's gravity, you must first take on what Earth produces, not what you're producing. Because we're in man-made energy, we now need to convert to ether energy, the energy of the Earth itself, in order to move within the field of it. That's why pumping that ether is important when I do it in my gravity flyer, because my grounding system is a little different. Instead of like Tesla did with the rod down the center into the earth, right? I'm moving where I put that rod. I no longer have it in the center of my Tesla coil. I now have it on my gravity flyer. My gravity flyer is acting as that connection. So that rod that goes in the center right there, that's my gravity flyer. So if you just took it and flew it right down the center of the Tesla coil and put it right there, that's where it is. All I did is change the locality of it. That's all I did. But it's still working as the pump. Okay?
An electron pump.
I still have voltages in positive and negative that are putting pressure on the center part to create the pump.
Do you suppose maybe then what you've done is somehow recycle it closer to counter space to where it's being sourced from?
That's
so
it.
Maybe a closer, I don't know, closer feedback.
Well, it explains why I'm getting things and I didn't want to show it. So every once in a while, and I know this sounds wrong, and you can think of it what you will, but around my house, it starts to shake quite a bit, okay, when I start pinging on a good day. When that energy picks up, we start shaking. And I don't want to release how I did it because that would be bad. So, but I'm pinging something, and I know I am. So we get some rumblies going on, and my son's speakers start, putting out noise and stuff. We got some stuff going on. So there's a little bit more to this. And I'm really kind of, that's what's leading me in the direction of doing the Tesla coil experiment with the rod down the center so that I can ping it properly. Now, I'll get a response. I may not like it, but I'm going to get it. And I've felt it before, so I'll know when I hit it.
I think it's also important to note that the speakers, when you said your son's speakers are going off, they're off, right?
They're off.
Yeah, they're off.
There's no power.
So it's not just basic interference. It's something else, you know?
Well, that's one of the reasons why Tesla picked Colorado Springs. It was on a solid rock formation, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
There were no fault lines where he was experimenting. So
Well,
careful. We want to keep you around, Nathan.
there's the San Andreas fault line that goes right under where I live.
Yeah. It's a bad spot, man. Bad the money, I'd say come move away from there.
Anyway, it's just an interesting thing. I think we're pinging it. I think it has to do with the ether, and I think we're getting there. Now, the only thing I have to do is check the geology charts around us, or the charts of water, whatever you want to call them, and find out where all the water's running underneath my feet. Okay? Find the fault lines and then map it out and see what the time it would take to get anywhere close to something like that.
You mean like your water table?
Got to find out where the water tables are.
Yeah.
So, because I know most wells around here, I think 25 feet, something like that, they start hitting the water table. And I think it becomes clean a little bit deeper than that. So, yeah, I'm going to have to find out how far we're pinging that thing.
Yeah, I have a spot that I want to do a massive experiment with, but it's a little the ways from where I'm at, but it sits on a very solid place with no fault lines, and the elements within its soil are perfect for what I want to try.
Nice.
See if I could ping a signal from far up north to down south where you are, or even further to New Orleans, by using the very waterways that connect it from where I'm talking to New Orleans. Don't know. It's quite the experiment. It would take some funding to get done for travel mainly. The cabling I already have. I'm not worried about that. I got 2 spools of like 240. I think there's like 1,000 feet on each spool. So I got the cable to build it. I just have to have the funds to get it there, right? Cables, it's heavy. It has to be trucked. We're trained. So
Gotcha.
Working on bigger things. You never know.
Well, I was interested in that experiment that Dollar was talking about the other day when he was talking about the radio, and he mentioned the one guy's radio that it was it rotating or counter rotating, and he was getting the thing to do like a vortex to some other place, or he said that you if you were in this radio, you'd be simultaneously in both places at once. So
yeah. Teleportation.
That really tripped me out in what he was saying, because we're rotating mass in the gravity flyer, and we're rotating the magnets, and I'm getting a ring from them. I'm getting that Tesla, or excuse me, not the Tesla, but the Bedini ring. That same thing Ben picked up. That's what I'm getting out of it. Okay, so I think the effect has to do with the way it's built too. It may not do it with a regular Tesla coil, but because of the way it's built, it's doing some different things.
Well, I don't know if it was in Tesla's Colorado notes or if it was in one of his books. But I remember him talking about when he achieved such a high resonance and high voltage that it was like he could see beyond time. He could see the future, the present, and the past all at once. So I kind of wonder if what you're talking about with the Alexanderson transformer, if that's what they, through them messing around with radios. That stayed cheap. But like you said, almost like a teleportation factor instead. I don't know. That's some heavy stuff. Next level.
That's what he ended up saying was possible. Come with other effects.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much power it would take to get to that, though. Because you're talking teleportation at how much distance? Like, even if you were using the ground as a communication line between 2 points, I don't know. Huh. I mean, how many bits of information does a person make in comparison to data, right? Like, I don't know how that would work.
Well, hold on. If water is electrically conductive, then you should be able to send messages through the water to the other side. And it would make sense if you were in the area to be able to pull that off. So instantaneous travel through water would be easy.
Well, we're 80% or 75% water as well. So how would that affect your travel? Do you resonate the water within your body and it just brings the rest of the mass? It's an interesting thought. It really is.
Yeah. I love it when they get into those things that you can kind of dive into a little bit and do some experiments and see what happens.
Yeah. Try to find the truth. That's the hard part, right?
Well, it kind of goes to how water's built too. Hydrogen.
Yeah. Oxygen.
Yep. So how you build things, I guess, matters, and how you teleport them.
Yeah.
I had wondered about that one. I have a couple of ideas on mathematical concepts that tie it together. That's something to look into.
When we start looking at that transmutation chart, we start going down it. Maybe the point is to go up it. If you want to teleport them, go up. Let's get back to the basics and then bring it back down.
What if transmutation of elements would be kind of like, let's say the frequency of a certain element is 1,000 hertz, and you wanted to achieve growth of that. This is in the woo. You wouldn't raise it to 1,000 hertz. You'd raise it to 12 to 1,400 hertz and allow that frequency to be pulled down through another means of, like, say, a pickup coil.
So say that one more time.
So, like, let's say you were trying to have resonance of a certain element, and that element was resonating at 1,000 hertz. So you wanted that resonance and able to, say, grow that element. Now, this is just hypothetical, of course. You wouldn't try and take its component parts and resonate them. You would bring your resonance up to, say, 1,400 hertz and use your pickup coil system to pull it down to 1,000 hertz so that you're resonating at perfection.
Okay, so let me just describe something to you. Remember, I told you my Tesla coil is different. Okay?
Yeah.
We're oscillating normally at 720 kilohertz. My gravity flyer is 310 kilohertz. When I put the wire down the coil, it brings my resonance frequency down to 310 kilohertz. Okay? I can already reduce the resonance in order for them to resonate together.
So, yeah. As the theory goes, it's possible, right? That's all.
Well, they take on the beat rate of the rotating disc, depending on where the Tesla coil is connected. So if the Tesla coil is connected to the center, you get the beat rate of what you would get in the Earth, which you're getting in the megahertz, right?
Yeah.
If you connect it to the actual top and bottom disc, you're getting the beat rate of the motor. So the speed of the motor is actually the beat rate of the craft at that point. That's how fast it's pulling out the field in it. So depending on which one you have connected is how it operates.
Electrically, that would show up like a Doppler effect, or through sound, it would show up like a Doppler effect.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a coil off my board here.
Yeah, we were talking about Walter Russell's periodic table. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Walter Russell was a genius.
Yeah, he was. By the way, Gerald, I have to ask a question about your coil now, because I wasn't able to ask it earlier.
Okay.
Transmutation, you have copper. You're saying you're getting gold in the circles of your thing.
Well, I'm not saying I'm getting gold. I'm saying it looks like gold.
Okay, so let's, argument's sake, assume it is. That means between copper and gold, it's straight down 1 over. So you are right in that thing. You're just transmutating that copper. So is it taking the copper and is it mutating the copper based on the actual resin that's put in there? Is that the thing that allows it to transmutate?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. I know that, and this might get us in trouble, so we got to be careful. But I know that Bedini was transmuting copper pennies into gold. It got him into trouble, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll come out with a different signature than gold, so they want to accept it as gold. But then again, people try stuff all the time, I guess.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Personally, I think there must be a way of growing these elements. The Earth grows them.
Yeah.
Just a thought, right?
Well, also the Earth has more pressure than we normally produce. But then again, I never thought diamonds could be produced by people. But then they pick peanut butter, put it in pressure, and they got a diamond. I mean,
True, but it's under a lot of pressure.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, like I haven't got anything that's going to create that kind of pressure, I tell you. So I guess the world's safe.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject. It's a woo subject.
Esoteric Gold said, I heard the word gold.
Yeah. We were talking about Gerald's coil because it has so much copper in it, and transmutate it. It may or may not come out to something different. It might just be the coil itself losing the amount of copper that's in it, and that's what's spreading around the actual bubble on the inside. Because,
Go ahead.
well, because you're heating it up so much, you may be melting that copper.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. The coil doesn't heat up normally, but that doesn't mean the plasma isn't affecting it, because there's plasma between the copper lines. That's a fact.
I think he's just producing the Hutchinson effect on a little micro level like there.
Maybe. I think it's more it's melting that copper. Because you're holding back so much heat when it comes in there. It has no place to go. So you always ask yourself, why would you take mineral oil and vacuum out the bubbles? Okay?
Yeah.
And here's the answer. Because the bubbles have heat in them. They trap heat inside of them. So when they come up and they hit the transformer, it creates a spike in the transformer. Okay? And that spike melts the insulation off the wires. That's why you have failure. So they take out all the bubbles so that the heat can be regulated through the liquid. And it's not regulated through the bubbles that have a higher amount of heat in them. So it removes the heat spike from it. That's why.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
You got me thinking again, Nathan. That's dangerous.
You guys know that bubbles rising in a conductive solution creates a magnetic field?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Bubbles rising in water creates a magnetic field, at least salt water, the oceans. There was an oil rig that sunk because they had fractured a bunch of these hydrate crystals or something on the coast. and it released a bunch of gas under the oil rig, and it sunk. And sensors on board, I guess, detected that while all these bubbles were rising, there was a magnetic field generated around the oil rig.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
bubbles rising in water do work.
That's another
interesting.
form of renewable energy right there for all you inventors out there. Try to figure out how to harness that energy of rising bubbles.
Wavy plates. Make them go between wavy plates.
Yeah.
We've already thought about all this stuff. I just don't have it. This is the first time I've had the space to do it. My house
Say
is
that again.
small.
About wavy plates. I'm sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that.
explain that a little more.
Yeah, that's cool.
Corrugated aluminum plates that the waves in them, like roofing, where it's, so the bubbles hit one plate and then rise to the other side, and they keep bouncing up. I think that'll do. I don't know what 2 plates you would need, but the electromotive force series of the metals will give it to you.
Yeah, that'll extend their length, how long they travel.
Metals,
Yeah.
different voltages.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have a 10.
Hey, Mike.
Start wearing it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Mike. Gerald, you got a meter there?
That's what I got.
Oh, the watt-hour meter.
Isn't that what made aluminum, what Tesla said, aluminum would be big? And that's where it got used because of the
that disc that's perforated. It's got a whole, like a wave on top.
Okay,
right?
hold on. Let me bring you up. Put it back to the camera.
Yeah, see.
So what, is that a way to waveguide the eddies?
It actually.
That's your Faraday disc.
Oh, that's your timing on the outside, right?
It's the Faraday disc. Take a look.
Oh, no, I can see some dimples in it. It looks like it's
There's
textured.
all kinds of dimples in it.
Synchronized.
All over the
That
place.
helps make the waveform.
And then it's literally like the backing is off. So it's a little loose here, but it's literally like a Tesla coil. Here's your primary that comes in, 220. Goes through your, this is your high voltage. And these little lines come off. I'm going to run this backwards and see if we can get it running. That's worth 2 points. That's a meter.
Yep. If you hook it up right, it'll reduce your load on your system, and you can save probably about 25-35% on your electrical bill.
But I was basically trying to show the divots. Right?
Yeah. See, that will help create the frequency going in those coils at the back. They use very weak magnets. If you, Gerald, if you take a piece of metal to it, you'll notice that the magnets are very weak. They're not very strong.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's for the future.
Mm.
So the weak magnets is what gives it like the push, but then it's the current that you're drawing that draws the speed of that plate.
Right. So the faster it goes, you start creating a wave, a sine wave in the large coil at the back. All right. So back at, say early 1900s when Tesla put this out, he designed it in a way that all it needed was like a seed power, 120 volts, maybe an amp to go through it. All the current that you needed for the house was generated in that meter.
Acting.
All right.
That was your draw?
That's your draw. That was your load right at the meter. The meter was the generator, not the power coming in. The power from the power company in those days wasn't very good. So Tesla designed it so all it needed was a trigger, 120 volts at 1 amp. And all the current that you needed for your appliances, that current was generated in that meter. Not
so
your power.
Slow vortex. Like the Earth's frequency, 12 to 7, 11, around 11 hertz, 11 and a 7. Oh my God, the pyramids focus the 11 and 7, which would be the mean between the 10 and the 12 and the 5 and the 6. Oh, wow.
And because of that, each house produced its own power.
Yep.
And then we got charged for it.
Slow.
They charge you for it.
Oh my God.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
We are
when
so
you put it
blind.
when you put it under a load, what happens is the disk actually slows down.
Yes.
Lowering the frequency and increasing the wavelength so that it can reach into the universe.
Yep.
You're
Oh,
getting
that's
it.
catch some brain.
Isn't that sneaky?
Oh,
Sneaky.
oh, dude.
See, Tesla.
No wonder churches bring you together in privacy. Oh, Maynard. Mind blown, even though I thought I knew something. Woo!
I love it every time Victor has a eureka moment, man. It's so awesome to watch.
I love learning. Learning every day, man. If we can learn one thing every day, you'll stay young. At least at heart, anyway.
Yeah, great. Oh, my word.
Oh,
Yeah. To me, and
When
I
it comes to
hope that the way that the high voltage lines above the like the transfer lines, I believe those are actually reinforcing the power that goes between each house. So as we create it with our meters and it gets sent, because the lines are so far apart, they're actually capturing that ether because they've calculated the fact that there's the spark, there's the ether, there's the static, and they press it in a certain way. That's why those clamps are holding them apart, not to hold them from touching as much as they are holding them at the exact distance they need to collect excess power.
So because the force would, that's why they say, okay, I thought it was conduction, straight up. But yeah, that makes sense.
Surprising because nobody thinks about it, but why would you, right?
Since everything's grounded then.
So, you know what? The way I
frequencies, oh my word, we could be in a virtual reality.
see the way I look at the wires up on the pole, the wires on the pole. If you listen to Dollard's video that Nathan showed the other day, the power is in between the lines. Okay, so that means the wire is acting like a waveguide.
Yes.
And if you look at them, two wires will be close together, like 0.618, and the other one will be a square away, like the square, 1. So they're in golden ratio. And if they're high power tension lines, they're in the triangle that's in the center of your pentacle, which is also golden ratio.
Yep. It's amazing. We don't, nobody sees it, but it's there.
Everything that Tesla put out, he put out in a way that he figured some smart guy down the road will figure it out. And, you know, the watt-hour meter, the Tesla coil, and a few other inventions that he did, he built it in a way that, you know, you could take it to the next level and get something out of it, you know?
Right. You did
So
say the work I do is for the future.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of us back engineering what our forefathers have done to take it to the next level, right?
I agree.
Hold on real quick. We talked about the distance in the wires on the poles up there.
Right.
And Victor was saying ether. Okay.
Right.
Just understand that the distance between them, I keep saying it. We have a charge state, we have a scalar state, we have a plasma state, and we have a voltage state.
Right.
That's what's going on there. So when you look at the states that are going on inside that, then you can predict the energy coming out of it.
Right. So like the average high voltage lines going from town to town, approximately 44,000 volts. So there's probably an equation out there to actually calculate the distance between the two wires.
I keep coming up with something in the square root of 2.
Square root of 2. Yeah, that would make sense.
I know it's an equation for acceleration, but I keep thinking distance equals time squared.
Now, if here's a little experiment that I seen a little while ago. I think it's still on YouTube. It's an MIT professor. What he did was he took 2 aluminum plates and he charged both of them up with a lot of voltage on either side. and he had them relatively close together, say a couple of inches. Okay. The second he pulled one of those plates away from the other one, he got a massive spike in voltage and current. Just by pulling the plates away from each other.
Charge separation.
Right? So right there, you can build an apparatus where you could have it pumping in and out really fast, and without putting any extra power in the system, when you separate the plates really quickly, you can get a spike in voltage and current. It's a really cool experiment.
And two parallel plates, like Dollar was saying, your capacitor brings energy in from the sides.
That's right.
Whereas the Casimir force is the energy that's pushing plates closer together.
Sounds like
Right.
my coil.
There's something to that geometry of, okay. I was always wondering what people said. You got to have a certain geometry to structure the vacuum, and it's how you build your capacitor and your coil and the dimensions.
Right.
And it's got to be golden. Okay, duh, yeah.
Right. You see, when you have two charged plates close together, in between that, you have electrostatic field, you have your ether, everything's in the middle. When you pull those plates apart really fast, you induce a collapse of the field, which draws in the ether in that space. The second you pull it away, something has to fill that space, that dielectric space. That's where you get the giant surge.
Mr. Linus just said it.
You want? Hold on.
Separation makes a voltage that goes boom. The butterfly fractal is the whole idea of chaos. When a butterfly closes its wings and opens them fast, it creates a charge separation that actually literally forms a small sonic boom from a butterfly with delicate wings, creates a plasmoid of heat and lifts the butterfly into the air. And he used that plasmoid in the wind to get himself to the flower he wants. We can do the same thing.
Charge separation is easier than people think. Go ahead, Nathan.
If a butterfly can do it, strange attractors, there's also multi-attractors, multi-fractals. Oh, Mr. Linus, we should talk someday.
So my gravity flyer works on the top and bottom on two charged states. Okay. And I'm creating an ether in the center, but then I'm adding to that ether with the Tesla coil ether. It changes the frequency of everything into a beat rate. That beat rate turns out into a ring. That ring comes out at 25 megahertz, not the oscillating frequency of my Tesla coil, which is at 310 kilohertz. Okay. That's what's going on here. Okay. We completely change everything. And I always say it's a diaphragm in the center. Don't tink it. You want that thing to softly push. Okay. We're pushing that bubble. You get what I'm saying now? Now we're barely touching the ether there. That's what we're doing. Okay. That whole thing describes exactly what's going on in my whole experiment right there. And when it does that, we're pulling ether in.
Have you put a meter or anything on a rodent coil while you are operating your
on my
flyer to see?
Okay, not on my rodent coil, but on my gravity flyer, yes.
I was thinking while the graviflyer's running, tap your rodent and see if it's resonating with the bubble. Because if it's the same form, you could have a transmitter on Earth and run the graviflyer off into like Tesla was supposedly done to the Pierce Arrow car.
I'll have to try that experiment.
I missed that. Explain that a little bit.
If your rodent coil has the same geometry as the graviflyer, the rodent should be sensitive to the graviflyer's energy. If you can get them to resonate, then you can leave your transmitter sitting at home running off your crick or whatever you got going on, well, actually, they'd probably power each other. And
Yeah, you can
thing with
synchronize the
geometry-
fields.
The
And
thing with-
the military already uses the rodent coil for communication because they're very sensitive. They're the most sensitive coils for communication, so that makes
Yeah,
sense. I'm sorry, what
correct.
were you saying, Gerald? I didn't mean to interrupt
Well, I
you.
was just gonna say the thing with geometry when it comes to communication is the geometry itself has to be kind of identical. So, like two rodent coils could communicate perfectly, but I don't know about a rodent coil and a gravel flyer.
Well, if you had
Because-
another rodent coil, like a
Yes,
pickup
form.
coil on the gravel flyer, maybe.
I don't know, the rodent coil, the way that it operates, it kind of spirals around the whole toroid itself.
Oh, you think
Whereas,
it would be like it would negate
different.
that?
What's that?
You think the field that's created by the gravel flyer might negate anything that the rodent coil might pick up?
I don't know about negate, but I don't think it would resonate with it. Like I don't think it would resonate with the gravel flyer. I could be
Just
wrong.
You know,
I
just
just-
think of it like
Go ahead.
just think like two tuning forks, right? If they're exactly the same tuning forks, if you ring the one tuning fork really hard, that second tuning fork is going to pick up that frequency within a certain space. Now, that was basically what Tesla did for his first transmitter, right? His first transmitter didn't need electrical source. All he had to do is have two coils that were geometrically identical. Okay, he was able to transmit power over 4 miles with no added input electricity. You got
But they
two
were
tuning
identical.
forks. They had to be identical, right to a T.
So
Right to a T.
all we need is a 20K resistor, and then we can check the actual radio frequency of the coil, and we can know exactly what it is. And it'll show up. Yeah, it'll show up in different areas where it resonates. There'll be like 3 or 4 different ones that we normally can find.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine radio communications with no power input? We could have had that. We could have had it. But because of all the patent wars that went on, I think Tesla spent more time in friggin' court, fighting, Marconi and his patents. He stole 17 of his patents. And, it was just, like I said, he spent more time in court fighting over patent wars than being in, working in the lab. It's ridiculous. We could
Piss
have
on
had
the patents.
Yeah,
That
we
age
could've-
is about to end, man. We're on the precipice of the new industrial revolution right here. All of us are working on something like that kind of represents that,
Well, I'll tell you what there, Ben, I got a challenge for you. Make a rodent coil with a quarter wave third coil in it. I just made my first one.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. Yeah,
Or
I
have
do want
two
to. I
of them.
do want to do the peg winding method. So I will be doing that soon, actually, and I want to wind another rodent coil the same size as the one that I have. That's the smaller one. So if anybody like Nathan, if you could print one out, that's about that size.
What size?
The size of my smaller rodent coil, not the big one. It's I have to measure it out for you, but it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, you have to measure it so I can put it in.
Yeah.
Because
you
I
should
think the spacing for the wires is off on the big one. That's my theory.
The thing with that you should try, and I've never seen anybody do this with a rodent coil, although I'm sure it's possible. If you have two identical rodent coils, identical winds, the same length, everything, if they resonate with each other.
Yeah.
We're going to find out soon. I got another one on the printer.
I proved it with my little vortex coil. I can't make this coil resonate with any other of my other coils, but the two identical miniature 2-inch vortex coils, they resonate with each other.
Like
And
a
I
tuning
can-
fork. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could send energy from one to the other and capture the back EMF on either, because I'm only using one primary or one secondary on either coil, so that leaves 2 extra for me to play with.
You know what
Well-
a good analogy is too that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the good analogy that I seen that kind of relates here too is when you put that limiter on the tuning fork and you can kind of mix the 2 frequencies together while they're resonating.
I know what you mean by that.
Yeah, as
Well,
long
that's
as
right.
as long as the transmitter is identical to the receiver, you know, um, in wire length and geometry, it should work. That's why Tesla was working with the pancake coil, because he got the best results with the pancake coil. And that
Yeah,
was the
'cause he
base
had
of the work.
Yeah.
Now, there's one guy. Now, if you want to know the guy who's like the best right now that I know of, is Master Evo. Check out
Master
his YouTube
Evo, yeah.
channel. Yeah, Master Evo. He's in Germany, and you want to know how to run transmitting and all that kind of stuff, induction and all that. This guy's an expert.
So hold on.
Absolute
I want to stop
Master
you real
Evo.
quick. You have a number 1 and number 2 coil on Tesla coil. One is completely a different size, okay, than the other one. The shape is different as well. Both circular but different shape. It's the weight of the copper where you tap it.
Mass. Yeah,
It's that's how Tesla did it. He weighed his copper.
yeah, that's right.
So you think if I made like a vortex coil like this and a different configuration of vortex coil, if they're the same weight, it might resonate? I'm going to try that experiment.
Now, you could also, as long as it's an equal, or say you had 5 pounds on one coil, you could go to 10 pounds on the other coil, it'll still resonate. Because if you go back into Don Smith and what he was talking about, is you could go quarter wavelength, full wave, as long as it's an equal number. So Tesla, like Nathan said, he worked with mass, right? A 5 pound coil with another 5 pound coil, or a 5 pound coil and a 10 pound coil. Then you get the proper transfer between the two. Don Smith was doing this a lot back in the 80s with his coils.
I got a question for you guys. If I was to try that method with 2 rodent coils, for instance, and measured out an extremely long wire, and then would I be able to like cut that in half, or do you think the tolerances would be too tight to get them exactly right?
Well, they would be a half wavelength. It goes by the length of the wire or the mass. So, say you had 10 feet on the one coil, the second coil could have 5 feet. Okay, it has to be an equal division.
Oh, it can be a division, but but I'm saying the tolerances, like, would I be able to do that by hand, or would I need some kind of like very precise mechanism for measuring them?
You would get a meter stick or go by meters or whatever and do it that way. Yeah, you need a pretty consistent, reliable way of measuring the length of the wire.
Yeah,
kind of critical. Because if you go kind of off, then what happens is it's not going to be a half wavelength or a full wavelength. It's going to be in between, so the coils won't be able to talk to each other, right? So
yeah, that's why I thought you have to be pretty precise with it then.
Yeah. If a good reference would be Don Smith when it comes to setting up those coils. If you want to do, like a half wavelength or a full wavelength, he explains it pretty good. There's a lot of videos he did before he passed away. Yeah, hopefully that might help a little.
Well, that's essentially what a bifilar coil is. That it's 180 degrees out of phase. It's half wavelength.
Hold on, Victor, you were showing that yesterday. Hold on. There was that diagram, a bunch of circles, and it worked on the numbers being equivalent when you double them. Do you remember that? It was that chart that you showed, and it showed a big vortex in the center and going out. Okay?
Prime numbers, atomic structure, and how the 369 fit in it.
But that's what they're talking about right now with the wavelength. In order for it to be in the correct wavelength, it's got to do that. It's got to work in that same numbering system.
That's what I was noticing about the laws of Sanskrit mathematics by alchemical scientists. I only just started watching his work to you guys because I want, you know, to know how this is going to fit or if it even does. When I saw his chart, I see that it does. Yeah, I'm watching it to learn, to get it down. Because some of the numbers, I can see them already. They're the same, but I think I'm working at more of a micro scale.
So, hold on. Do you have that chart by any chance where you can pull it up?
Medium. I could probably pull that up. Oh, did some people not get to read it?
It wasn't that. It ties in with the wavelength.
Oh,
We're-
the 369 being the bridges across them.
There you go. We're tapping into a wavelength and we're tapping into the capacitance of our coils.
Right. Okay.
So where that drops is important when you deal with the math because you can't have a half wavelength. It has to go in a certain pattern.
Would you like me to share that then? Let's see. That's Fractal Explorer. There we go. Whoops. What is going on here? That's
Not the right one?
Oh, my tab closed on me. Let me open it back up, I guess. I was trying to maximize it and hit the wrong thing. All right. I only see the article. I don't see you guys. So should I read like some or just kind of?
That's okay. It's a kind of a visual thing. That was it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it.
It's up right now. I don't know what you see.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
The pattern connects the field of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and astronomy.
Scroll down to the chart.
And so, well, I'd like to show who printed it. Maria
Okay.
Folding. She's on Medium. I don't know if this is a known pattern, but the system divides a circle into 9 segments and numbers them with mainly prime numbers is what they're looking for. But this red line is special too. But anyway, the prime numbers in the picture, you see 3 sectors that don't have any prime numbers at all. They only contain composite numbers, which is something I noticed alchemical scientists saying about the Malcolm grid. So anyway, what I noticed about the 369, then, if there's no primes there, there's no atomic building blocks in them 3 lines. So at 120 degrees, these things are like spewing out, right?
Yeah.
And then there's certain lines, the prime numbers get divided into 4 groups, colored by 4 different colored lines. And you see their prime spirals then. And then there's another group of twin primes, like my number 618 sits right in between the numbers 617 and 619. That's a twin prime pair. So anyway, the twin primes connect across the junctions that don't have atomics or primes. They bridge them. And the thing I noticed about the pattern, the way they're distributing it here, is that matter in one of the sparks that he had a video I just watched. Maybe I should check. He was talking about Malcolm's work and the plasmoids I just watched the other day. I think it might have been this one, the introduction to the generator. They showed the actual metal being And this pattern in the atomics I wish I had this already marked. We show the elements being spewed out of the metal's spark point, folding out at 120 degrees to each other was these three little lines like a bullet. Maybe the same thing. Maybe it was the other one. But you saw the picture. It was, I think, in our video. Yeah. These are the spheres. The one I'm looking for is the one that showed where the plasmoids spewed the metal out, and then they did the test and showed how copper was turning into gold. It folded out in three directions, just like the 369 pattern. So the other ones are the ones that are causing pressure to form matter or tear it apart and reconstruct through that sequence. So I was wondering if it fit what Malcolm's doing.
You know, every time I see those little things in the center, those little balls, I can't help but think of Merkaba. The way he's always describing it and how it works. It always pops in my head. Yeah, there's a definite relationship. Sorry.
Two-way current in the numbers here. The last digit permutates, and they talk about permutations also in the Malcolm thing. So anyway, that was something I thought was cool last time.
So I guess what I'm getting at is when you go to the radio frequency and you map it out on your oscilloscope and you find out where it crosses the center line, you can actually see the different points where it's resonant based on those numbers. That's what's going on. When they make either the even or odd number in it, you know what I mean? It'll show you where it is. So as you resonate, you can find the points of resonance and radio frequency that way. It's just something I noticed. Maybe nobody else has noticed it, but I have. So. Oh, man. God. There's a bug in my garage yesterday. It drove me absolutely nuts. It makes me feel like I have bites everywhere.
Oh,
you need to fry it and find out.
Yeah, I do. I need to light up some voltage in my garage and get rid of that thing.
You want to see the fractal spot that I found that has a more refined geometry?
Yeah, go ahead.
One that was scattered?
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking at this burning ship fractal and cruising along looking for some transition points, and I went right along this little edge here and found that I could get much cleaner cylinders and toroids. Oh, that one's shrinking. What happened? Wait a minute. Uh-oh. Anyway, it's right along here. I got a really nice clean toroidal pattern.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look, it's shaping. And what are you scanning here?
When you look at the Julia set,
he's looking at fractal patterns.
Oh, it's a fractal pattern. Okay. He just bloated a fractal pattern. Okay. That's crazy. But it makes sense, though.
Oh, look at that. That's totally different.
Yeah.
I guess that's more cylindrical than. But anyway, that's the Julia set for that same point. So I've been trying to find a more refined tor. Why do they keep shrinking? It's the density. Is that thing you were talking about, Gerald? It's shrinking on me. That was not happening.
You're not moving the mouse at all either. It's just shrinking.
No, I'm trying to maintain that same. Oh, now it's a more rapid. I'll turn the sound off.
Huh.
But anyway, I found that if I cruise along areas, this smooth area won't give you nothing. You want areas of transition states or phase changes.
Mm-hmm.
This little point right up here started giving these that look more like toroidal, but they could be cylinders. I don't know.
Yeah, they look more toroidal, but cylinders at that angle. Like that.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Zoom
Like
back
an
in real
elongated-
quick on it.
Yeah, that's a toroid.
Hold on. But if you look at it differently, it almost looks like a cylinder rotating that goes in from a wide area to a small area.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
We're seeing it skewed.
There it is right there.
But
Okay.
I was speaking toroidals, and you can see they go different directions. So
This
they
is
have,
wild.
but when I do the research mainly, I use this grid because I think of it like an oscilloscope with the magnetic plane and your dielectric plane. And then it's got these subsequent like powers of 10 divisions, I guess. And so in the center, we would get a real low frequency. Well, that was a transient. We'd get a low frequency ring. But you get close to the edge of chaos and you get these things that accelerate off.
Huh.
And they take off and shoot. I don't know if that's a transient or what. But
Yeah, that's
here, where is it?
The guy that created it said that they're unstable, so that
Right.
they'll
That could be a
disappear.
transient. Transients are unstable.
yeah, that's wild. This is really cool. It's like a coherent waveform in the center, and then it just shoots off these transient waves.
This is the one I thought might be useful in the Dollard experiment. You can see we have a rotating column here, and then they flatten out like longitudinal might be, and they cruise over to rotate that chamber. So if
That's
one guy was in this,
crazy.
which seems to be in the black counter space zone, and then the material zone over here. I don't know. That was just a thought that there might be some way mathematically, if we're getting waveforms out of this, as though it were this zone would be where magnetism and electricity collapse and do their transform from one to the other.
Yeah. Do you ever get that? You don't ever get it where it's where it's not in the one area in the black, right? It's always one area in the black and one area in the matter.
Oh, there's your coil in there, Gerald. A little part of it.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that. Look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it tells you if you reverse your coil, you got fractals.
I got fractals just building the coil.
Now there's one that almost looks like those wires in the tuning forks that the Egyptians were. This one ain't in motion, so it must be a standing wave, or damn near
Huh.
close. I guess it is wiggling.
Yeah, it's just slightly. The frequency is very low.
We're on the edge of chaos where the Cantor's dust can bring in energy, and it's obviously connected to some dark plane, which Fractal Woman says she relates to counter space.
Right.
So that's just some of my trying to intuitively search out fractals and stuff on that zone. For people making coils, I guess some of you may have seen this, some of you may not. If I can zoom in on the right, there we go. This one is perfect for sound effects and coil design. Fractals start in a null zone, and you can see this particle's trying to stretch out and spiral. You get closer to the edge.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, these look like your coils, Gerald. They really do.
You're getting a different frequency from every coil design.
Absolutely. And a different
That's it. You
purpose
want
for
a
every
nested
one.
Oh, look at
coil?
that one. Oh, that one's so cool.
Yeah, I just actually built something like that.
It looks like a Mandelbrot. Oh, I'm sorry, Mandela. Mandelbrot on the brain. Yeah.
Oh, there's one in here. It looks just like the Mandela that I was showing you guys.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
What's that?
Yeah, what is that?
If you zoom in on the end, it's rotating like that one, but I can't make it stand still. So
The resonant frequency of time. The universal clock.
yes, there you go.
That's so cool.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the bar coils. Sorry, I had to do that.
That's awesome.
That's
so
pretty sweet. I love those graphics.
What I love, hold on, there's a fractal pattern to every one of those graphics, okay? So when you find the patterns that match your coil, you know you have a fractal pattern to it. So I know that Victor can identify what you have if he understood what you did, okay? He'll tell you the exact pattern of it.
I'm betting that
the guy that wrote that to modify the software to give me coordinates of each of the fractals, you know, in X, Y, Z, and imaginary plane, complex plane. I'm trying to get the complex plane coordinates to be added to it, and I also want him to get traces so I can trace the pattern that the transient takes, because it could be that it's trying to find an orbit like the battle butterfly fractal, but it has too much velocity.
yeah, it's trying to find the path of least resistance. Yeah.
You know, it might also tell you which fractals are resonant to each other because they show up in the same set.
That's why I thought the math with the perfected fractal dimensions.
That's why you use radio frequency to get there.
I don't think it's a specific fractal as much as it's a dynamic system with multiple fractals.
And there's probably more than one way to do it too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is.
You know,
It's probably at least 15. Well, that could be an exaggeration.
I
And
heard it
maybe-
was like 20 to 23 different UFO styles.
That's possible. I heard there was 24 different dimensions, 12 positive, 12 negative. Some we can't travel to.
Maybe
I don't know how
12 in
true
counter space. Maybe each gets its source from counter space.
I would say so. Yeah, yeah.
If it's,
The null zone. Call it what you will.
if we're in a simulation, what component would that comprise? A vacuum?
I don't think we're in a simulation as much as I was trying to go over this as a theory with somebody else. I can't explain it properly. I'm still working on it. It would come off just too damn cheesy. But I don't think we're in a simulation as I think our consciousness yeah, I gotta leave it alone. I'll come back to you on that one, Victor. I will. Because I've been sort of playing with that idea for the last few months, trying to figure it out. So, yeah, the void. Yeah, some people call it the void.
It's not simulation. Let's say God did construct something
Well,
to have a purpose.
Yep.
What component
is the void? I can tell you right now, when I died, I entered into the void. The void's the crossing point between what some would call hell and life as we know it here and heaven. So all I can tell you At least that's from my understanding. So all I can tell you is what happened when I died. So I put my fist through a window to punch my friend in the face who was standing on the other side of the door. And I got him, but I got myself too, right? I cut everything in my wrist except for the pinky tendon, every vein. And I was drinking for 2.5 days solid, so my blood was like water. So
my stepfather did that.
yeah, so I died on my brother's floor, and I remember just everything going black, and there was nothing. You couldn't see a thing. I could feel my face, but I couldn't see my hands in front of it. You could feel my body, but nothing. You couldn't see anything. And I literally, I mean, I don't know what your beliefs are, but I'll just be straight up. I called out, I said, what about Jesus Christ? What about God? And boom, I was standing in front of, I was at the end of a hallway, and then there was a door at the end of the hallway, and it was all pure light, and all I could hear was like, as if I was at the beach, and it was kids laughing and playing and people singing and having a great time. And I wanted to go back, and there was a woman standing in front of me, and she said to me, you have to go back. And I was like, no, I don't want to go back. I'm home. I'm here. She said, no, there's something you have to do. You have to go back. And then I was coming back into my body, and as I was coming into my body, I felt layers. Like as if I was coming through layers of clouds. One layer was, say, pain. One was anger. One was disdain. And it was all the negative emotions that you would feel as a human being till I came back into my body. And as soon as I hit my body, I was awake and I was in the hospital. So the void, from my understanding, is like the space between where God exists, we exist, and whatever else is below that.
It's odd that there was that resistance layer of negative emotion, though.
Yeah, and I think
the resistance that's in our lives is negativity.
Interesting. Interesting thought.
Control of emotions is supposed to be key. So I know I've been trying to clean up my act. I kind of went off on the rodent community and benefactor a while back, and I did not realize how far you guys had advanced it.
Yeah, we've been working hard at this, and I've been at it since 2007. So we're all getting there.
Well, I apologize. EBM is very...
no apology necessary.
Yeah, don't ever apologize to us, man.
We're only human.
It's all about learning.
Off days all the time.
I don't know. I think maybe I was upset because I gave it away, but that was God's will, right? I'm doing something.
God's will.
Yeah. I don't believe God's real. I know God's real. That's beyond the shadow. There isn't a human being. You can beat me within an inch of my life. You're not going to get me to change my mind. You know what I mean? Because I die.
More than one of the gods. And so in history, we hear about the gods. And apparently they said that there was more than one god that they got together.
Yeah, but in the context of that, if you go back in that scripture, they say they, and when they're talking about it, I did a big study on this. I actually have like a bunch of notes on it. They're talking about the so-called fallen angels, or the ones that defied God, that changed the frequency of man and changed our time from 1,000 years to 100. Because remember, if what's written is true, and I believe it is, Moses lived to 975 years old.
He
now,
did.
is that because he was eating manna, which is like high monatomic elements that have been mixed together in a very specific formula? Or was it because we all lived to that age and we needed those elements just to replenish the body? I don't know. But
so hold on. Let me throw this at you a little bit, Gerald. The actual amount of gravity on us was different.
Yep.
Water levels were different.
That's
true. You have to consider that when you consider people living to a different age and when they did it. Okay? But then again, he was in a time when they lived less time, but he lived longer.
Everyone who was around him lived longer.
Right.
And I believe through like my research and what I've learned in my dreams that it had a lot to do with the secret of the pyramids. And that all has to do with vortexes. It has to do with the flow of energy, how the body absorbs that flow, and what they were doing with that energy at that time. I believe that all of Egypt was lit. I believe that they had lights everywhere. They just shoved them, just like Tesla. I think Tesla found
he knew it would
the
work.
secret.
I think he knew it would work.
Shove a pole in the ground, the light turns on, just like Tesla did.
Ancient electricity, that sounds lit.
Yeah.
It's all about, and I can't get into the real subject I want to get into, but it has to do with the pyramids and the temples that are at the base of the pyramids. And it goes back to the human body. I got to stop there.
I think it helped with the plant
Gerald,
too.
you mentioned something a while back to me. It was just a saying. What about your enemies being confused? There was a saying that you said. Do you remember it?
Which one? I have a few.
God will confuse your enemies.
Oh, yes. Yes. God will confuse your enemies so that they don't understand what it is you're talking about. Right? And if math is the universal language, the mathematicians are trying to break down this very same problem, but they can't see it for the forest in front of the trees, so to speak. Why? They're looking in the wrong direction.
By the way, Victor, that's why you fit in just perfect with us. Okay? It tells you everything you need to know. You're not confused at all.
Nope.
Yeah, you see
None
how
of
we
us
have
are.
3 squares here? You're the 4th, man. We need that. We need that
We need
4th
6
person.
so we can play Hollywood Squares.
There you go.
Or 9.
We're squaring the circle.
It'll be the Brady Bunch. Where's Alice?
Brady Bunch. Hey,
funny.
I'll make us
Yeah,
an
I'll need
intro
more
like
coffee.
that.
Oh, man. That's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Learning is awesome, man. If I learn one thing a day, it's my joy. I try and do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, that formula for the 1/9, the lambda,
Yeah.
right? It's 1/9, 1/9. If you take E, logarithmic E, raised to the power of that 1/9 lambda, and add 1/2 to it, it's equal to the square root of 5 divided by 2 plus 1/2. So the square root 5 divided by 2 is equal to E raised to the power of lambda for the E-based math folks. I got asked that question a couple days ago. So
Interesting. I'm just working that out in my head. I'm sorry.
Hollywood
Wait.
Squares.
It may take me a while. Interesting. Mathematician. I agree with that one. There you go. That's your new nickname, Victor. The Mathematician. I love it.
Oh. Pull out my calculator. Huh. It's so great.
yeah, benefactor, you said something once about you were interested in people that had dreams or whatever and some of their stuff. While I was doing this math, there were these nights like I'd be going at it and I just all of a sudden 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, damn, no pattern. I didn't find an equation I can write out of it. I'm going to bed and I get frustrated. Well, in 3 times. First time I didn't get up. Second time I started getting up. In the dream, I was with other people in a room that for some reason they had their blackboards going all the way around the corners. And they're all doing math. And all of a sudden I'm just in the room and the guys are going, so what's up? And I'm going, I don't know. I didn't find nothing. And he's going, oh, you must have made a miscalculation. You should go back and check because you should have had it by now. And I would wake up going, what? like as if this was predestined. And the first time, like I said, I just took it as a dream. But the second time I got up, I actually went back out, got the calculator out, dug my notes back out, and started going. I had made a mistake in the third step. And like chaos, everything went awry and I didn't find the pattern. I corrected it, found the pattern, and got a formula. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I started paying attention to my dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dreams or visions. Yeah.
Yeah. Very important.
Very powerful stuff.
Well, my name Seers connects to the seers. Psychics. My mother had a call and my grandmother was psychic. I know, because she always knew what I did.
I think we all have some of those abilities, but I think they don't come out until certain events happen in our life that shift our beliefs and shift our maybe even our genetics in order for that to open up. And then it has to be worked like muscle, right? It's just like working out your biceps, you know. You want biceps, but of course you're going to have to lift those weights to get them. Well,
yeah, don't skip leg day.
The switch may be turned on, but you still have to practice. You still have to work that muscle out, right? I believe that that's why most people don't have psychic abilities or can see things or remote view. It's because they don't work out.
Plus, when we're ready, it's a large. No, your imaginary friend is not real, or no, that doesn't exist, or
yeah. A large part of it is, in like going back to like the biblical stories of Jesus walking on water. I believe that most of us have that ability naturally, to do some of those miracles, and you just have to 100% believe, and that's the starting point. Though you can't have any kind of disbelief in yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and most people just don't believe at all.
I agree.
Especially in themselves.
I don't remember the verse, so I don't want to screw this up, but I guess Jesus was supposed to have said that there would be people that would come after him that would do things greater than he did.
I was about to
save us all. So how could anybody do anything?
I was about to bring that up, actually, Victor. That's awesome. What he said was, you shall do these things, and he was referring to walking on water, healing people, and turning water into wine. He said, you shall do these things and so much more. And
wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he meant that these gifts that he had will be given to us in our belief in knowing that we can do them. But again, like you said, you have to believe that you're able to do it before you can even have that chance.
Right. It goes back to that Matrix scene. Remember when they're on the rooftop? He's like, you have to believe. Let go of all doubt.
Okay, hold on. So if we take water, put it in the correct cup, and resonate it, do you think we're going to get wine?
That's interesting.
I mean, the only way I'm going to
depends on the cup, though. You got to get the right cup.
You'd have to have the right resonance, and you would actually have to attach your consciousness to it.
Because it's transmutation.
Yeah.
So you just need to find out how to get to the grape and what the transmutation of that is into the metal.
That's a thought.
What if you make that cup at a specific dimension, and then you ring the edge and imprint a vibration into whatever's in the cup?
That's resonance as well into the thing, just like they put it around the ring of the cup. You're resonating.
Yeah, crystal. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Interesting.
gonna try it.
You know what's funny about that?
Probably come out like vinegar.
What's that, Victor?
Oh, in 1986, when the download hit me or the whatever happened, I was 22 years old, and I was reading this big, thick chemistry physics book, and I noticed something called cuprite. Cuprite, and I was looking at it, cuprite. If I built my cuprite, I could stick it in a waterfall and let it fill full of energy, and then when I pulled it out, I would have a cup that would always have water, no matter what, right? That's what went through my head. Well, little did I know, as I've got all these University of Nevada, Las Vegas students coming to party all the time because we're all, partying and talking this metaphysics. I mentioned my cuprite idea. Well, it turns out it was cupric oxide. It made a superconductor. That was the first one one of the first. I had planted a seed without even knowing it. Because there's no way you can put a cup in a waterfall and have it always give you water. I mean, but as a superconductor, the water is the current.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know it. And when I saw cuprite, I was going, hey, I know things I don't even know I know.
Dreams are
You unlock
important.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you have the cup of energy, and if you can fill up that energy and pull it out, keep doing that, you got energy for free. What would that be? That cup would be the Holy Grail.
Superconductor at room temperature.
Yeah. I believe I have I fully believe I have a superconductor at room temperature. I fully believe that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with that.
And I can take it to any university and they tell me to go pound sand because I don't have papers. Can't help people if people don't want help because all they want is their name on.
Yeah. And short of sitting there and sitting next to them explaining how exactly to replicate it, they're going to screw up the replication. They're not going to. I see it all the time. They don't, these people that replicate these things, they don't take them seriously. So they don't pay attention to the details.
Very true. Very, very true. Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
That's what Dollard said. He said he did Tesla's experiments. He didn't change Tesla's experiments. He didn't put his own spin on it. He didn't think he was smarter than Tesla. He did Tesla's experiments to every single detail. That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started this stuff, when I was following dreams, dreams are very important. And if you believe that dreams are directly connected to, I believe, God, and you could get taught through those dreams, the possibilities are endless. I'll give you an example. I was like complete. I don't want to say scumbag, but I wasn't a very good person when I was younger. I made really bad decisions. Okay, I ended up in jail. In jail, I was locked in the hole for 40 days, 40 nights. That's illegal. They're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to be 10 in, 4 out. Then they have to wait 2 weeks before they put you back into the hole, and they can do it again. It's for your sanity. They locked me up for 40 days solid. Didn't bother me a bit. I have my Bible. That's all that mattered. I had a dream in those 40 days. Told me I'd go to British Columbia. Told me I'd be involved in something very big, very nasty, and that I would be part of taking down a serial killer. And I can talk about this now because he died on my birthday. So when I was out there, I had walked through his property and seen things. And I got put in a position where I could speak those things. Well, in the dream, when I was in jail, told me I would do 3 things. I would save somebody's life, I would take out a serial killer, and the third one I would be told later. I was like, yeah, right. Come on. Like, I'm in jail. I'm totally against ratting on anyone or being part of any of that sort of thing. I just want to be left alone, live my life, that kind of deal. So I didn't at that time believe it, but I believed in my dreams teaching me things. So I figured, okay, whatever. I ended up in BC. I ended up in this crazy place. I followed what it was I learned in the dream. This guy got taken down. He was the most prolific serial killer in Canada. And they don't write books about him. They don't talk about him. They literally slough it under the carpet because he was directly connected to the politicians in my country. So if you believe that dreams can tell you information and lead you to things that are bigger than you, it's a guarantee that they will. And I believe that God is the one that directs those dreams. So when all that was said and done and I came back here, that's when I started working on this. But I wouldn't have worked on this unless I got hit head on by a drunk driver in a car crash, became disabled, and that's when I started working on this. Before that, I was like an extreme athlete. I was into extreme martial arts. I'd gotten to the point where I could run for 45 minutes without breaking a sweat. I was like, I trained 6 hours a day. It was mental. Now, I sit 6 hours a day. You know what I mean? Or I write and I do experiments, but I never would have done that if I hadn't followed my dreams, got to where I went, came back here, got into an accident, and everything happened for a reason. Never would have found this stuff otherwise. Wouldn't even have a clue to work on. So, Victor, you're right. Believe in your dreams. They will bring you to a better place. Well, if you believe that, if you know what I mean.
It worked.
So am I right?
Power through.
And I'm no different than anyone else, man. You know what I mean? I'm not special. I'm just like every other person. But I believe that my dreams were a way that God speaks to us. And because of that, he did. So all you have to do is believe that he will and just watch it unfold. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff has happened in my life because of dreams. So yeah.
The thing that triggered me in Vegas, I came across a book called the Ohaspe. OAHSPE, or Ohaspe. It's about Jehovah's angels and all having all these wars. But there's this one section called cosmogony, like cosmology.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It talks about something called vortexia as being the prime energy thing that did the whole universe. And of course, a vortex, I mean, I got into that right away. So I mainly stuck to that section of the book and learned what I could. And I think the reason I had the trigger was because it talks about our galaxy being called Sivorcum, some kind of big serpent where the sun is the head and the planets make the body. And it's this big spiraling serpent moving through. And there's a guy in it that Sivorcum gives knowledge to, and he's called V.W. Warcum. And he somehow works these vortexes and warps. Well, when it said V.W. Warcum, I'm going, those are my initials, and I just soaked this thing up. Nice. That might have been why the download hit me, is I wasn't seeking, like you say, to put my name on it, even though I was using my initials.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. You know what? There's no such thing as coincidence, Victor. Coincidence is just a way of God staying anonymous. Sorry.
Very interesting day. Right on. Well, I'm glad that Benny's been getting his H wave now.
Yeah.
Me too.
You're getting RPMs, right?
So the next thing on my equipment list is to get a what is the meter that measure RPMs? Is that it's accelerometer? I forget, but I'm gonna get a utility to measure the speed of the sphere and see how fast it'll rotate. And we are going to get a magnetic rotary at some point as well. It's gonna take a little time to get those, to source those. If you have any ideas though for like cheap, like you said, like maybe like a cheap toy I can take apart or something that I can rig up on a piece of wood or something, you know?
I don't know. I've got all kinds of weird electronics. I could send you gadgets and things to, if you want.
Yeah, I don't have access to a lot here, but or if you have any ideas of something that I could buy on Amazon, anything, you know, like anything that's kind of inexpensive, really.
Well, I was wondering why you couldn't. I guess you're not hearing the frequency to be able to figure out frequency as RPMs. Mm-hmm. But if you paint a stripe on your magnet, you should be able to maybe video it and track the RPM.
Yeah, I tried to draw a little arrow on there. It didn't really work. I couldn't really see it that well. So what I'll do is just get one of those little meters to measure how fast it's spinning. And that because it was spinning so fast with the new stereo amp that the glass container almost flew off the table.
So hold on. Did your meter has the little antenna coming from it, right? Is that the right one?
Which meter?
Your oscilloscope.
Oh, I don't think so. It's got two inputs. It's got one DDS, or DDS and DDO. Yeah, so one for the tone generator and one for the oscilloscope. But I don't think it has an antenna.
Did you get a 10x connector with it? A probe?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did. A probe.
Okay,
a hook probe.
Take that probe, put a little wire in it, and set it next to your coil. Then it'll track the frequency of your coil in operation. That's what you got to do. That right there, it's going to tell you what your frequency is.
Okay, so like a little jumper cable from my Adreno kit or something.
Yeah, I use just a house wire from your wall house. Okay, that kind of wire. I just stand it up.
Oh, speaker wire, something like that. Okay.
So I just keep it like 6 inches away, a bare wire, and then let it pick up the frequency of it, and it'll pick up the frequency for you, no problem.
And put it on the and put it on the oscilloscope and monitor it.
10x.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. That's awesome. I didn't think about doing that.
Yeah, so you'll pick up the frequency of it, but then you'll be able to map it a little more. Okay. So because you're going to get multiple frequencies. Okay.
Right, and you can drag it around the coil.
But hold on. Let me just tell you this one caveat. You're going to have to keep it in a still position away from your body. You create what is it? Capacitance on your coil, so it throws off the frequency. So you have to stay away from it.
Oh, so I can't just like hold it and drag it around. I have to put it in a stationary and then back away and monitor it.
Tape it there.
Watch it.
It's correct.
Gotcha. Tape it there. Okay, that's a good idea.
So
I'm gonna write that down actually, because I always forget to write down. And when I do that, I forget about the idea.
So once you get the number, verify the number. Okay. Take the number you get, put it to your signal generator, and put it back into it. Verify if it's resonated at that frequency. Okay. Or if you don't have the right frequency. You see, I don't know that the rod and coil is going to resonate correctly because it's one wire from beginning to the end that's bent, but it might. Okay. It's not two separate coils. It's one coil. It's one wire throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Sorry. Russ Grease, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, RWG. What is it? RWG 9285, I think it's called now. His name's Russ Grease, and he made a few Rogan coils. And one of the ones he made, he was spinning the magnet so fast, it actually burned through the plastic cup that was spinning in. So it can be done. I'm just saying, you may have to look a little bit. I don't know how he did it. So Ben, you may want to look.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You may want to look into Russ Grease. He may help you with what you're doing when it comes to spinning that magnet really fast. I think he was somewhere around.
How do you spell that?
RUSS Grease GRIESS.
Okay.
If you type in RWG along with his name, it should come up.
Oh, I think I know that guy. RWG. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about. I just only knew him by his first name.
Yeah, Russ.
So also I had a viewer, a subscriber who sent me some information on a modified Bedini SG that I could possibly use before I get my hands on a battery. At least I can plug it in. At least in theory, I could plug it into the wall with an adapter of some sort, a 12-volt adapter or something, and just get my one battery, the power from that instead of having two batteries. So what do you think about that? So I just have to source one battery instead of two.
Two is always better if you're depends what you're trying to do with your circuit.
So right now we want to just see if we can utilize the coil in any practical way. And that, if with the Bedini circuit, is just charging a dead battery. And see if we can charge a dead battery, get it to run, and maybe rejuvenate it a little bit.
And what we're using as your power source again?
So if with the Bedini circuit that we have, it's going to be a 12-volt battery, and then to power it, and then another 12-volt battery, like a dead one, to be the charge battery.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
But do you think in the meantime, if I can't get a hold of like a new battery, because an old battery is going to probably be cheaper, I could use an adapter from the wall and maybe look into this modified. Yeah,
Sure, you could. Just make sure it's 12 volt.
Go on your community thing on the Facebook and look up motorcycle batteries.
Motorcycle batteries.
They probably have a couple dead ones, which
or a scooter battery, right?
Huh?
Or a scooter battery, would that do as well? Or
That
a
would work,
motorcycle? Yeah.
They just got to have big. It just has to be around that size. You know what I mean? Lawnmower size battery. Okay, can't be a small, tiny one.
Right.
So
that's a good idea.
That's what I looked up, because I'm looking for the stuff to do the Bedini wheel. I just can't find somebody with a cheap aluminum rim, and I don't want to pay full price for it. Kind of cheap.
Yeah, sourcing some of these parts is going to be challenging, but I can't wait to see that flywheel in action. That's going to be fun to see.
Yeah.
Doesn't that have a limited RPM though? Due to timing, and it has a maximum rate. I mean, that it maintains.
Oh,
I'm not
look.
sure.
For me, I don't care. I just want to see the spike. That's the whole point of the whole thing. That's all I want to see. I want to see the magnets and the spike. That's pretty much what. Sorry, I know everybody likes all the rest of the parts. I just don't care. I want to see the ring, the spike, and the magnets. That's it. Once you show me that, that's all I needed to see from the circuit. But I want to see it for myself, because I have to. Because my project kind of goes along with it, so I want to see it. You know what I mean?
And then after we get them both running, Nathan, we'll have another episode of Pimp My Bedini Circuit.
Dude, I was looking at lowrider rims for it, but they were metal, so I wanted a pair of aluminum. It's gonna pimp them out and shine them up.
Spray paint a nice lightning bolt on the side.
and maybe somebody can help me out. I don't understand why it's aluminum instead of iron, and I know there's a core factor involved, but when you buy some of the sets that they have, they're metal, okay? But then when everybody builds them, they tell you aluminum, okay? So, or plastic.
I think it might have to do with the fact of the eddies of that metal plate in the power meter. Want aluminum to create eddies, perhaps. Since they're vortices.
Well,
yeah, the material is going to be important to get right.
Iron heats too much.
That too.
There you go. From all the eddy current. Yep. Okay.
And
Well, that
it's
answers the question.
saturates.
Yeah, so aluminum it is. No pimping my rims, not unless they're aluminum.
Let's see. Ulysses asked me a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you put a laser through your coil? I have, and it shows diffusion. In other words, okay, so I was running it at high voltage, I guess you'd say, not super high, and I was 10 feet or 12 feet back. I've checked my notes. It was 10 or 12 feet back, and I shined a 5-watt laser through the center, and when it hit the center, it brightened out. So rather than continue and go, I think 2 miles like it was supposed to or something like that, when it hit the coil, it that's what I'm looking for, dissipated sort of into a cloud.
Diffracted? Is that
Diffracted? Is that the right word?
I'm not sure.
Fraction.
Diffraction, yeah.
There you go.
Or diffusion.
So yeah, I have tried
I think it's diffusion.
Diffusion. Yeah, diffusion. Yeah,
There you go.
that sounds right.
So let me ask you something. Did it loop at all? or did it just go and spread out?
It just spread out like a cloud, and I got freaked out and shut it off. I got it on video. You should hear me scream like a schoolgirl. It's funny because I don't know what's going on when it diffuses, right?
God 10 has a good idea. So if it diffuses, then could it also focus? So maybe a second coil, if you could refocus, that might be how the longitudinal is.
Well, hold on. We showed this. We looked at it one time. Okay, magnets in a cup. Okay, magnets in a cup. It comes out and it makes a center point. Okay, but when you do it, when it goes twice, it goes out, and the energy comes back in like a diamond shape. Okay, I forget the name of the guy that showed it, but it's a cup. Okay, like this. Magnets are placed in a certain way. Then they do the same thing on the bottom. In the center, you get a sphere, okay, of energy. But then as it grows, it does that pattern. It comes out like this, just like that, meets in the center, and then goes back to the same way. We saw it on the channel. We did it a while back.
Interesting.
That sounds like inverted light cones, or
yeah. Well, I'll
that's
tell you, it kind of freaked me out because I thought a gate or something was gonna open, and it tripped me out a little bit.
Well, we were talking about it when you said you wanted to make another coil and then put them against each other. Okay, what are you going to get in the center? You're going to get that center sphere. That's what you're getting.
Okay, now, and this is what I kind of wondered with two coils that are identical and in resonance. Okay, so let's say there's two, and I shoot a laser this way, and I shoot a laser this way. I'm going to use red, a 5-watt red on one side, and I'm going to use a 5-watt blue on the other, so that when they hit, it's like a red-blue shift. My curiosity, my brain goes, once they hit, they make a sphere. That sphere is going to expand, and it's going to open a door. Because that sphere is going to be at a different frequency than the frequency outside the coil. I don't know. It's just
unless
thought.
you can phase somehow the beam. I think the smaller wavelengths of the blue is going to get either one or the other. Might be the carrier, become a carrier, because the light will just go right through each other. That's how they make condensed matter. They need the same wavelengths in order to make the little egg carton troughs the atoms sit to freeze and make a lattice. The waves have to match to make the troughs.
Mine do.
Trap them. One set of waves and the other peaks, and then so if you have blue at a smaller wavelength, it's going to like send the energy to whatever. Yeah, without mirrors, like somebody said, I don't see how that.
So hold on, let me share it, guys.
If you can get a hold of a one-way mirror and two one-way mirrors.
Why mirrors though? Wouldn't the resonance of the system,
light will go right through into the other laser? There won't really be a mixing unless you can somehow do that charge separation thing with the mirrors. I have an article on time reversal mirrors. They take
this does create charge separation in the center.
But I mean, the blue is going to go through the red. It's a longer wavelength.
So should I use two blue?
Yes.
Two of the same would get you a better mixing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll order another blue laser then.
Or another red.
Let me show this for you.
Yeah. Blue's more powerful, I think.
Yep.
It feels like it is anyway.
Oh, that plasma discharge in a I remember that.
It's the energy, though. Watch the center.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's what you're doing with two coils, though.
Yeah, but in the center, that's what I'm doing with one. Like, so the two coils, when they meet, they would form a ball as if one was above the other. I get that. But when this is running right, the ball comes right out of the center. So there's like a sphere.
But that's because you have counter-rotating coils.
Yeah.
You have that. That's
He's
why.
generating
He's
Meissner-
doing it with the counter rotation of 2 cups. You're doing it in 1 coil.
Right.
Yeah.
Yours is more like a scout ship from a UFO that hauls butt everywhere. Okay, you know what I mean? It's not a magnetosphere. It's different.
Yeah, you're right.
So he was building his like a magnetosphere would be built, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Victor. You had something?
Oh, I'm just thinking.
And he
That
was
arc
using
thing.
high voltage.
Well, there you go. Opposite polarity on top and bottom. So you have 180 degrees out of phase.
Yeah, and I have opposite polarities. And then they level out.
Kitty getting hungry like my dog.
Yeah, we've been going for 3 hours. Wow. Blink, blink.
Yeah, I think we're close to the end, guys. So
Hi, Crypto. I really enjoyed Sheila's. Thanks for showing us.
yeah,
Sheila's work.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Crypto.
Because of Sheila, I was looking into that. Apparently, there's a way of taking an old tube TV and tapping into the horizontal deflection and the. Oh, my cats are doing weird things with my computer here. Tapping into the horizontal deflection and the vertical with microphones. And you can make a 3-dimensional form like a scope on an old TV.
You can turn an old TV into an oscilloscope.
Yeah. Does anybody know how to turn the computer screen the right way? My cat stepped on it. You guys are like this right now.
Go in and rotate your display to landscape.
Rotate my
Portrait
landscape.
to landscape.
How do I do that?
You watched the whole thing this way, Gerald. Sideways.
No, it just happened like 2 minutes ago. But it's really hard to read the messages. I mean, you know.
I'm thinking you watched the whole thing, the whole stream that way. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
It's like my head is over here. No, over
That's so great.
there.
Yeah, you got to change your own landscape, or what he said.
I'll see
Yeah,
what
Victor
if I
says.
can fix this. Problem is every time I go to move my mouse, it's going in the wrong direction.
You got to go to go in. Hold on. Yeah, you go into your Windows,
Yep.
and then you're gonna pull up your monitor setting, and then it'll show either landscape or the other one.
Right. Okay. Give me a sec here.
If you can get your mouse to go the right way,
Yeah.
just turn your head sideways. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Just to see it, man.
That's so great. Oh man.
Oh, I got the camera off.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
it's
live.
live.
Somebody asked this is live.
Oh man. Yeah, look, when we do Mondays, we do Wednesdays or Saturdays, we always do live. I personally don't replay stuff. So yeah, everything on my when I do it, it's live. So yeah. That's funny. So yeah, shameless plug. Mondays, 3 p.m. On the West Coast. And we do Mondays, we do Wednesdays, and then I usually pull in a Saturday with Joe, and we talk all kinds of stuff. And then if I'm doing okay for the week, then we'll do a Sunday live or something like that, and just open it up for open mic. So that's my schedule anyway. Oh, you okay over there, Gerald? You're not getting dizzy, are you? I think he disappeared altogether. Disappeared into his vortex.
So a pile of kitties.
A lot of cats there, man.
So the cat walks by the coil and static discharge starts it up and the wormhole sucks him in and we find out what happened to
Schrodinger's cat.
He's like the Jumanji game. They're sucking him in like the Jumanji game, man. That's so great.
Oh, who you got there? You got a little furry friend.
Yeah, my dog.
Oh,
My first dog died of cancer and my family helped me get this girl here.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, dogs are a blessing. I love dogs and cats too. I don't have room for them here at the apartment. It's so small.
So
You guys hear drum beats, you'll know what happened.
yeah, we usually do Sunday open mic. If you want to get on, let me know. All you gotta do is shoot me an email, and then we'll meet up in in StreamYard on a thing that's not taped, and we'll talk, and then we'll do a live. Okay, so just in case you wanted to come on, so I don't want to say your name because I will horribly do it. Ben, can you read it?
Whose name?
The guy that's on screen, Mr.
Oh,
Lanio?
Mr. Lanius?
There you go.
Mr.
Sounds
Lanius.
so much better coming out of Ben's mouth than mine.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here all night.
Oh God, man.
Oh,
StreamYard? StreamYard, yeah. That's me. Look, I got dentures in, okay? I don't wear my bottom denture. So everything comes out a little bit slurred.
it's okay.
So I'm sorry for that.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
So I'll leave my email in here. Gerald, are you okay?
He might have had to go, feed the cat or, take care of him.
Okay,
That's
so where do I go again? Settings and say what again?
Oh,
Shouldn't he be able to just right click on his screen and go to settings, personalize, and change that to landscape?
Oh, and the display settings of Windows?
Yeah.
Yeah, right-click your desktop. There should be, display settings there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got that part.
Yeah, it's
look
in
for
display.
landscape somewhere. Should be on there somewhere, I think.
Yeah, that should give you your settings, color.
It should be
Unless
like
you have NVIDIA drivers, if you have a computer with an NVIDIA card in it.
Oh, yeah, display orientation. Change it to portrait or landscape, whatever it's on.
Landscape should flip it sideways or back. Portrait.
it's the third one down.
Okay,
Third one down.
display,
It says display orientation.
Mm.
So if you click the windows and then you went to oh God, yeah, you went to settings. Hold on. Click it. You go to settings, system,
Yeah,
then display,
yeah.
then the third box down. Wow. Is landscape. Is the
Oh,
display orientation. There you go.
Why isn't it changing on me?
Yes, there is a StreamYard app. So when you get to, you just type in the StreamYard basically on Google, and then you sign up for an account that basically is free, and then you're able to get everything connected. That way, when you come in here, you have it all set up and you can connect. Now, if you have a YouTube page and you want to stream it live to your YouTube page, you can also connect it to there. Which I think, Victor, you got it this time. Did you stream to your page?
Yes. I think it's going there anyway. Yeah, have you looked at my generator idea or?
I haven't been able to do anything, to be honest with you. It's been a real busy week. My granddaughter comes over and takes up my time. You know what I mean? And then I have experiments, and then I'm trying to catch up, make sure I'm here in time. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like shoving food down my throat, like, you know what I mean? A few minutes before the show.
That's what I did too. Yeah.
I always got to make time for family. Family's the most important.
Yeah, I'd like to see what he has to say because in the chat he has all the information. So, by the way, I'm looking forward to the conversation. Gerald, did you get it fixed?
Nope.
No. You go to all the right places and still not get it fixed?
I'm looking at display orientation and it's like a gray box and it won't open up and it won't.
Oh, it's grayed out.
It's grayed out.
Huh. Maybe try changing the resolution? I don't
tried
know.
that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Multiple display chains. I tried.
You try smacking it? No, don't do that.
I don't know if it worked. I would.
There's a hold on, there's a quick key for it.
Yeah, it's really strange. I've never had that happen before, actually.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'll just
hold on. Control Alt Arrow key.
couldn't be that simple. I'll laugh. Control Alt Arrow key. Ha 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 ha! Now I'm upside down. I got it this time.
Oh,
there we go. Thank you, gentlemen.
A little bit of tech advice for you. We're upside down.
Wow, I'm telling you. I thought I was a techie. I just got proven wrong.
You know what it is? I used to place my plate right next to my keyboard, and then it would start, like, because the pressure would push the buttons. And before I knew it, I was changing the size of the screen and everything else. And I'm all freaked out trying to get it back right. So I had to look it all up.
Nice. Yeah, the cat walked on it and just went sideways. I've never had that happen.
It's a coordinated cat.
I could just picture a cat like holding itself onto the screen and then the screen just tilts.
Make a good meme.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, after all that, anyway, it's been 3 hours. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to, at least I'm going to have to call it. I have some things I have to do before the end of the night. So,
yeah, real quick before we get there, guys, Gerald,
as well.
Wednesday, okay? You got stuff to share because you weren't able to last time. So I want to make sure you share it right, when you get on there. And then Victor's going to come on, and we're going to have Joe come on.
Oh, not Joe. Not Joe. I'm just kidding, Joe.
Joe has been trying.
What?
Joe wants to talk to you both so bad. So we're going to set it up. Okay. But I want to make sure, because Ian was having some trouble in a circuit that he was working on that you were doing as well.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we got in there and he got any advice that he needed to get. And then it's all hats off wherever you guys take the conversation, it goes. And I'll click all the buttons to get you guys, whatever you need.
Sounds good to me. I'm in. I wanted to answer one question for Sean. He had asked me why I was in jail. It was nothing crazy. I hate violence and I don't believe in any of that other crap. It was I used to buy and sell things. I was an enterprising young kid.
Entrepreneur.
There you go. But the stuff I was entrepreneuring wasn't so.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Before we get to all that on the Wednesday, so hear me out. Sean's coming on as well on Wednesday, and he has something to present. So we're going to have Sean on and you on. And then when we're all done with that, then we'll get to, sorry about that, Sean. I need to make sure I put that in there, okay? Sean's coming on every week to help us with that show because he's got a lot of information with circuits and stuff, okay? And we're working on something for showing everybody how transistors work, MOSFETs, resistors, and Oh my God, dude. I was thinking of resistors as a fart experiment, and it was absolutely hilarious. Think of it as you're squeezing your cheeks between the aisles of a store, okay? And then it's trying to get to the open door. Well, the amount of aisles is the resistance, right? So every once in a while, you got to let the resistance go. So,
It would be bad.
so every aisle you go into, you got to let the resistance go. You'll never forget what a resistor is after that, will you?
Yeah. You're not wrong.
So old man Bill tells you that resistance is holding your gas while in a grocery store going down the aisles. There you go.
With a pretty girl behind you. Then
That's
there's
right.
pressure.
Tons of pressure.
That's awesome.
Oh wow, I can't breathe right now. That's hilarious.
I almost snorted my coffee. Oh,
Oh, it's gonna be great when I start to do that. Oh no, but I was trying to think of what's a funny way to tell somebody how this thing works so that it sticks with them forever. Okay, so now that when you look at all your resistors, you're gonna think of Nathan was farting in the grocery store.
Your choice of words too. Stick with them forever. That's funny. Oh, that's awesome, man. I look forward to Wednesday. I got some stuff to show.
Oh,
I look
yeah, I'm
forward to the
excited.
next time I got a fart in the grocery store.
well, you know what
Oh.
they say? Resistance is futile.
Oh, that was good.
No,
That was
I look-
perfect.
yeah, I look forward to Wednesday as well. I'll probably be at work, but I'll still be tuning in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
Gotta have fun, man. Life's short. Gotta have fun.
You got to laugh a little bit, right? We're all doing serious stuff, and I'm telling you right now, it's the easiest way to learn. Then
Absolutely.
wait until we figure out how the MOSFETs work, and you just that's how the MOSFET pulses. And you're like, what? I shouldn't talk about this stuff. I do the same thing when I'm working on plumbing.
We'll have to have a cartoon or animated illustration.
Well, we gotta.
That's why I understand Gerald's circuit drawing so well.
Yeah. You don't want a presentation of that, man. That's a bad
The wind
idea.
is blowing in this direction.
Oh my God. If he draws it on the board, let's see who can keep a straight face. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that challenge.
I tell you, it won't be me. I won't win that one. I'm sorry. I'm going to laugh every time.
Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe it's a subconscious thing and I need psychological care. I don't know.
Oh my God, dude.
But yeah, my circuits don't come out looking proper. That's for sure. Oh, terror thing. No, not another diagram. Yeah. Not me
Yep.
drawing it anyway.
That's so. Maybe we'll let Sean. We're going to let Sean do the diagrams. That's what we're going to do. We'll stay out of trouble.
We might. I'm sure we'll find something else to get ourselves in.
Oh man, that's so hilarious, bro. All right, guys. So we have Wednesday. We have an awesome show coming up this Wednesday. Okay.
Yep.
We have another one coming up on Saturday. I'm sure we're gonna set it off, Joe and I. Hopefully, Joe's free that day, and then I do open mic on Sunday. So, anyway, guys, that's what's going on. I know Ben's working on his coil. Okay, go ahead, Ben. Anything you got?
Nope. So I'm gonna be looking into doing that 12-volt adapter and getting a cheap battery off of Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and just keep an eye on my channel for further updates on that. I will be releasing the first episode of my guide to free energy devices, which will be going over the Rodin coil in more detail. It will be going over everything from the making of the coil to connecting it. And that's probably not going to be released for a couple of months because I do have to spend money on the animations. But that is going to be my next produced video for you guys. And anybody who is my Patreon supporter, for $5, you can get early access to that. I'll be putting them up about a week early for you guys, and then I'll put it on YouTube.
What
Awesome.
software do you use to produce? I like what you've done. I watched your couple productions just the other day. I was wondering what software
thank you.
use.
Oh, so I primarily use Adobe Premiere Pro, and then sometimes I'll use VSDC, which is like a free version of Adobe. It's like a free version of a software similar to Adobe Pro.
Okay. I thought it was just StreamYard, but yeah, that's some excellent production.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I take a lot of time and make sure it's, you know, like really nice.
Nice. And I got a couple of circuits to show off that I built. New coil. This one's small, but this is a prototype to the big one I'm making. If the tests are positive. And then I've got my water coil that I should be ready to show.
Nice.
We'll see.
I'm excited
Good.
to see that one.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see that water one.
Yeah, it's been a tough one. I'm telling you. Man, I've had to unwrap and wrap and do it like 3-4 times just because it's tough. I'm not wrapping on one plane. I'm wrapping 3-dimensionally.
Oh.
So there's 3 separate planes. So it's like, you'll see.
So you pulled off the hourglass? Is that what it is?
I wouldn't say it looks like an hourglass, but you could call it that.
Maybe a vase or vase?
Something like that. Yeah, it's got 3 rings of copper tubing, and then it goes all the way down through the copper tubing, goes all the way up through the copper tubing, and then it forms a hole in the center. So I guess it's kind of like an hourglass. You'll see it.
Now I'm excited. We got some more new stuff coming in. That's awesome.
Yeah, got to take it to the next level, man. I love challenging myself. Shit, I might be around for another 30 years. What else am I going to be building?
We're all going to be meeting in Canada over at Gerald's place and get sucked into the vortex is what's going to happen. Knowing us, we're going to end up in the caveman ages. Okay? Yeah. And we have no way of getting home.
Be setting up the experiment. The cat will walk across the control board and we're done. We'll watch the dinosaurs walk by.
Hey, Victor, you got anything going on besides the Wednesday?
Yeah, I am watching Malcolm's, anyway, that vetting math section that Alchemical Scientists put out. So I'm more in with that one and see where my stuff fits. And I'm going to be transferring my stuff over. I'll show you guys something I think might apply to the 7 noble gases, where Malcolm said that the number 7 isn't in the system because 7 deals with time. There was this one little set of equations I did dealing with 7 and angles, and I didn't quite know why, but there's 7 of them, so I applied the 7 noble gases to it. So I'll show you guys that that layout, how it might give us angles for the different gases to vortex to get different effects.
I have a theory about the 7 noble gases. They have something to do with the 7 spirits of God.
Well, if you look at atomics, I mean, the new charts I'm getting, my mom just gave me one. I'm opening it up, looking at it, and going, this is kind of weird. I thought you're supposed to have protons and neutrons at the core of every element. But it's showing down one side 7 noble gases as the core of each line across the periodic table. So it's like that gas under pressure makes these, and then the next gas under pressure makes those. I mean, that's what my mind was saying. If gases were at the core of, except for hydrogen, the 7 nobles are the rest of the elements' cores. And I was like, well, this is wild. So
interesting.
I'll throw that math out and find that page and copy it for us all.
I kind of wonder if you got a high enough voltage around a spinning electromagnetic field, like a large enough coil system for Rainbow would show up. I had that in one of my dreams. So I don't know.
what?
A rainbow, like of electromagnetic light resonance that shows up around the coil. I had that in one of my dreams. I just don't know what kind of power it would take to put into it. And I don't know if it would appear. It's something that, like I said, I dreamt about.
Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. Just so you guys know, in case YouTube deletes my email, it's on my page. You can go ahead and click it on there on my YouTube page, and you'll find it on there. All right, guys. Thank you everybody for showing up today. I really do appreciate it. Okay. Thank you for everybody in the chat, man. This has been such a fun time. I always love talking about all this stuff, especially when we start talking about the noble gases and the ones you hold in the supermarket and things like that. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yeah,
Hope
thank you.
had
Have a
some
good
laughs
night.
and fun.
It's been fun.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.